Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the penultimate race of Season 5 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I want to thank everybody for joining me today and returning to the booth. You see him there to my right. I think he's on my right. Yeah, he's on my, well, he is on my right on that monitor, but he's also on my right on your screen. On the right side of your screen, Mr. Philip Whelp Cakes Milwee. Welcome back, sir. Thank you for being here again. We missed you in the last 2 weeks.
I mean, I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad to be here for what looks like a dark and really cool track here at Indianapolis, which I think is a fun circuit. So I'm really looking forward to the race.
You know, I'm so glad you've said that you have driven this enough to be able to say this is a really fun circuit. I haven't. I have not driven this circuit hardly at all, to be honest with you, because it came out with the American Track Pack. I haven't been on ACC a whole lot since that launched. So I'm glad you've said that, because you can give your insight today as we get going here with this.
Yeah, I really feel like the kind of technical challenge you run into in this track, especially in Sector 1, Sector 2, it's a very challenging track. The lines, it's almost, in a way, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Snetterton in that people don't race this track a lot. So what ends up happening is you get people that have really wonky race lines that work for them. They may not be the optimal, but it works for them. And as long as they can kind of keep their pace figures up relative to the rest of the field, it's all good. But the thing that's going to be fantastic about that is when you get to battling in Sector 1, Sector 2, there are portions of the track that are technical that do have a little bit of width to them.
Okay.
So you can definitely fight for some positions in Sector 1, Sector 2. Once you get into the last I would say two corner, well, actually before the penultimate corner, it can get pretty tight in those sections, and then people are going to really have to risk it if they want to try and send it up the inside. But I think it's a fun track to watch people race, and I feel like people, because of the relative inexperience across the board with this track, I feel like people race it pretty hard.
Well, let's hope not too hard, because the last 2 weeks, and again, Phil, you missed the last 2 weeks. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to catch up with some of what happened at the Nürburgring and also at Alton Park, but the races were a little brutal. They were a little rough.
Man, I was looking at this. I was looking at the standings, and I kind of know exactly where you're going with this. But the thing that I am really kind of emboldened with when looking at the standings too is that outside of a couple of categories, you guys have some really tight battles for podium positions inside of pretty much every class.
Yeah,
that's going to be spicy. I'm guessing people were just really wanting to do some moving and shaking while I was out. So,
well, they did a lot of moving and shaking into each other is the problem. That's what we ran into, and we had to talk about. We talked a little bit about it on Recovery Drive this past week on Thursday, and I can't wait now that you're back, and hopefully you're going to be able to join us for Recovery Drive before the end of the season, either this week or maybe even after Bathurst, because next week is Bathurst. It's an extended race, 1 hour for our AM and Pro-Am drivers, 90 minutes for the Pro and Silver class, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I absolutely can't wait. That said,
I'm excited for it.
Let's talk a little bit about the standings after 5 rounds. We've got 2 left. This is round 6 here at Indy, and then we've got, again, Bathurst next week. AM class, let's talk about AM and Pro-Am right now, since that's the race we're going to be watching first. Jester Fluke leads out with Steven Music and Kenny O'Connor rounding out the top 3. Not a lot of points between them. 210 for Jester Fluke, 187 for Steven Music, and Kenny O'Connor at 174. So there's not a huge gap there, right?
Yeah.
Fluke with a little bit more of a buffer, but still, it's going to take missing one race or getting tied up into one incident, and it's going to be a problem for him, right? Bruce Hopkins, Jace Wright finish out the top 5 with the Warthog, Frank Reynolds, Terrell Sainz-Taylor, and Chi Kuba down in P8. John Rulin, who is on track today, in P9. Kirk McDaniels in P10. The bottom 3 drivers are all out or disqualified. So Matthew Givens has missed 3 races at this point. Chief Blaze disqualified. Michael Robinson has signed up and not joined at all. So again, though, those standings are wicked close. Let's talk about Pro-Am for just a minute. He joined us not this previous week, but the week before. Justin Seckham, 200. Now here, you want to talk about a close point standing, right? This Pro-Am is going to get real spicy before the end of this season. Justin Seckham with 213 points leads the Pro-Am standings. Gian Cardoso in second with 210. these guys are 3 points apart right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's good. It's good. And you know what I just love about the AM and Pro-Am standings right now when I'm going to look at it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Completely counter to what the strengths are in the balance of performance right now. You got 2 mid to low tier cars in fighting for top category positions in both AM and Pro-Am, with the exception of like the Aston Martin right now. Like Ferrari can still be kind of competitive everywhere, but Aston Martin's probably the one that people are like really using inside the current balance of performance. But in Pro-Am, M4, McLaren, top 2 positions, like they just bopped the McLaren. Like even though they didn't need to, but you know they did change the revving. I know that Tobias hit me with the facts last time I was here about how it wasn't really necessary, but at the same time too, they didn't do the McLaren any favors, and it's in second in Pro-Am. So I'm just happy about that.
Let me ask you this then: does that say it's more about the driver than it is the car?
I would say in more amateur categories. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's what I guess what I'm asking is, to be fair, I mean the BOP exists to try and balance the cars out, right? To make it so that they're all equal. Any manufacturer has opportunity to win. The fact that you're telling me, the McLaren got nerfed a bit recently, and that Gian Cardoso is still able to put it up there in second and only 3 points off of first place, tells me that it's balanced, right?
It's good. It's good for the field that you guys have got. The part where balance of performance starts to come into play a little bit more, kind of. Because the other thing I'm loving about the current like standings right now is you switch over to the other race that we're going to get to see later today, Pro and Silver. I mean, you got Jake Wells at the top. In fact, you've got McLaren 1, 2, 3 at the top of Pro, and I'm like, what? Like, huh? But yeah, silver category, you got an Audi up towards the top of the field. That's kind of not surprising. Audi is kind of a strongish car. Mercedes has been a little bit stronger in the current BOP in P2, but then Brandon Walrath in there with that M4, even with missing only 1 race, 167 points to Lewis Rickard's 174. So it's like, again, the battles that you guys have across the categories, really tight. I'm loving it.
I know. It's been a great season. I mean, look, we had incidents in the last 2 races, right? Of course we did. Incidents are going to happen every race, so you can never expect a 100% clean race. I don't know if you watched yesterday, the 9 hours at Kailami. It was a relatively clean race. Only 13, I think, cars started the session. And of course, I'm talking about the Intercontinental GT race. But before the end of that race, once it got dark, guess what? There was an incident in full course yellow. And so again, these things happen, right? But I think overall, this has been a good season. I think we've seen a lot of very tight racing, and you and I have talked about it, that one of the things I've noticed is that previous seasons, once the first 10 minutes of a race were up, cars were spread out, you didn't see a lot of battles. That doesn't happen anymore. That does not happen anymore. You and I, sitting up here, are working the entire 30 or 45 minutes of a race because that's what's going on. Like, there's battles all over the track all the time.
I think one thing that is a credit though to what is facilitating that for the people who are watching at home and stuff is we are fortunate in that the way you guys have structured the format, especially for the AM Pro-Am, it really enforces close battling. You don't really have a lot of time to build an advantage in some of these shorter races, and it makes for like really good close action for the entire length of the race. Good quality. The race really never gets an opportunity to settle down.
Yeah.
Which I think that tension is exactly what people want to see. I feel like in Pro Silver, there's a little bit more of an opportunity with the longer races in Pro and Silver for it to settle down a little bit more. But still, you guys are running really good links for these sprints. It's really good. I think if people aren't practicing for Bathurst and are not preparing for that season finale, like, it is going to be very, very possible for someone to build a substantial gap in a race that's 90 minutes on Mount Panorama. So people are going to have to really focus on that consistency, not really focus on pushing their pace too far over the limit, getting wrecked, getting back to the pits to need to do repairs. that's going to be critical. So,
Hey, listen,
I mean,
I
Go
know,
ahead.
again, we talked about it, but I'm going to say it next week. You're going to hear me say it now. You're going to hear me say it next week. When it comes to Bathurst, I don't care how fast you are, right? It does not matter to me how fast you are. Obviously within confines, right? Plus or minus 3 or 4 seconds, whatever it is. It's about your consistency.
Yeah.
Because if you are not consistent on that mountain, it doesn't matter how fast you are. You could be alien pace around Bathurst, and if you're not consistent, and every 10 laps you take a ding off the wall in the downhill, you're not winning that race. It doesn't matter. It's over. So, but we will get to Bathurst next week. Let's switch over to our full race can as qualifying has begun.
Yep.
Let's take a run down the order today. Justin Seckham back again, looking to defend the title. John Rulin out on track. Your boy Blue returns. Kenny O'Connor out there. Alex Martin. Frank Reynolds returns this week. Gian Cardoso is back. Bruce Hopkins. Tristan Jonendijk. Kirk McDaniels. Edward Walsh. Mike Robinson. Steven Music. Mike Zwanenberg. A great grid. 21 drivers this week. Jester Flume. Stephen Tomasic. Terrell Saints-Taylor. Terrell Saints-Taylor had a great race last week. You missed out there at Alton Park. Taylor just did really, really well. Let me see. I'm trying to remember where he finished. 5th last week for Taylor. It was his high on the year. He had another 5th place finish in round 2, but still had a really good race last week. Stayed out of trouble and had a good time. So Robert Hepburn, Burke Beat, Jace Wright, and Josie Austin all out here at Indianapolis today. So
yeah, Jace Wright is the person that I'm like watching in the AM category for Indianapolis here because right now the gap between him and Bruce Hopkins only 4 points. Bruce Hopkins, Mr. Consistency when he raced with 949. So I'm looking to see a really good shootout for those two battling for 4th in AM. And also they're really not far off Kenny O'Connor. So there's still an opportunity for someone to upset the apple cart and make that podium look a little bit different. But Jace Wright, that top finish in round 5, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in round 6.
And well, here's the thing too. I mean, you got to look at the fact that Bruce Hopkins and Jace Wright both missed 2 races this season.
Yeah, and just think of how many points they would have if they I mean, real life happens, but at the same time too, if they hadn't missed 2 races, what would we be looking at?
100%.
Sure.
I think it'd be a much different grid than what we see right, or I should say, different standing list than what we see right now.
Yeah. Speaking of standings right now, just looking at the timing and scoring right now, and people have yet to really get out there and set a flying lap. But we do have both Bruce Hopkins and Jace Wright in the lobby right now. So we're going to get some action in round 6 to see where those two stack up.
100%. Can't wait. Keeping an eye on Robert Hepburn right now, showing purple. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot here at the front, just due to the fact that, well, as you saw, they was throwing up a bunch of purple laps for people, even though those are out of the pits.
Tobias giving us some facts in chat about how the Porsche has been. I agree with Retro. It's been improved a little bit. It was already pretty competitive, so it's kind of only like a little bit, I guess you could say, more consistently competitive across all the tracks, from what I understand. But the thing that is interesting is I'm just interested to see how the balance of performance. We're going to finish this season out with the current BOP that we've got. I suspect we're looking at a new patch coming for ACC, hopefully in the next few months. Maybe we'll see a bit of an adjustment to the BOP because I'm kind of curious when those new GT3 cars are going to drop. So we're with this balance of performance probably for a little while longer. And like I said, for people that have been racing this BOP for a while, and for the little bit of change that Tobias was hinting at, the fact that we're looking at McLaren's in the top of the timesheets in multiple categories in this season, kind of awesome to see.
Very different what we saw, and again, I guess this is where you see the changes need to be made. It's very different from what we saw when the M4, I believe it was the M4 launched, right? I think would have been season 3 for Box 3 Motorsports. When that BMW dropped, forget about it. The entire top 10 was dominated every race by BMWs. It was horrible to watch, and everybody drove it because they knew, well, even if I'm not that fast, I bet you I get a top 10 finish because I'm in the BMW. It's like, it was crazy. So at least it seems like they fixed that. If the McLaren, again, got that rev nerf and brought it down a little bit, and yet drivers are still able to be successful with it, I think that's a good thing. I think that shows that it's more the driver than it is the car, and that the BOP is being done in a way that actually does, in their best effort, balance things as much as possible.
Yeah, I think when the new GT3s drop, I think we're going to get a little bit of a better situation than we did when the M4 dropped, because now Kunos has kind of like learned from like how SRO goes about releasing new cars into the season and stuff like that. So I think they'll be able to do a better job of maybe trying to focus in on the right data, or the data that matters, to get the cars a little bit more balanced on release.
Gotcha.
Again, we're going to give them a little bit of wiggle room because, nobody's going to nail it on the first go. So, but hopefully it won't be as busted as the M4 was. Although, to be honest, if 3 cars are broken, at least we've got 3 cars to pick from at the top of the field, as opposed to just one.
Just one, right?
Yeah.
Jace Wright smoking it out right now, top in AM class. I mean, again, Jace missing 2 races this season, so far beating out Bruce Hopkins. Where's Jace sitting? 136.522. 136 seems to be the time to beat. Justin Second with a 136.057, and showing purple right now on your screen. He's going to get just a little bit faster this lap, maybe. Burke beat Steven Tomazik and Josie Austin up there for the Pro-Am class in the top 5 so far. But again, Jace Wright really showing out, beating out folks like Gina Cardoso, Edward Walsh, and Alex Martin as an AM class driver.
Just looking at the timing and scoring stuff, Speed Trap Max right now, Burke beat setting the fastest in the Speed Trap with 262 kilometers in the Mercedes AMG. So he's really moving. Next fastest is Martin with the 262 as well. Actually, Martin just pipped him for 263 to go to the top of the overall top speed calculator. Bruce Hopkins goes second fastest just now. Wow, with a 36.217. Again, Bruce coming out swinging in the Ferrari. I love to see it.
And look at how, because we didn't see these, I don't want to say we didn't see these times. We haven't raced at Indy this season. What I'm saying is, you take an AM driver, right? Who's Bruce Hopkins, and he's currently running up with Justin Seckham. He's showing purple over Seckham right now, 4/10 up on his fastest time so far. That didn't happen at the beginning of this season. And I think that's one of the things that I most love to see, because someone's going to come into the Discord or into a chat, and they're going to say, well, Hopkins should have been a Pro-Am driver because look at the times he's setting at Indianapolis. Well, yeah, but if you go back to the beginning of the season, he wasn't setting those times. He wasn't running with the Pro-Am guys. He was running with the AM drivers, right? Yeah. And so now you look at it, that tells me he just improved during the season. And that's part of what I love sitting back and watching, is you see drivers who come in AM class and suddenly they're in Pro-Am the next season and they're in silver the following season, right? You get to see that growth of someone who applies this hobby and just puts everything they can into it and just loves it to the point where they get better and better and better. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like to see. And Bruce is just a straight up class act. Got to cast some races with him in 949 in our last couple seasons. Really good dude. Kind of an old soul kind of guy. Really love talking to him.
Bruce and I would get along great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's just a straight shooter. He's a real cool dude. And the fact that he's punching in a 36.20, and then Justin comes back bounce back 36.057.
Yep.
So we got a real fight up at the pointy end of things between these classes right now. Burke beat though 2/10 off of Seckham, so really not that far out. But I'm really liking the fact that between Beat, Tomazik, and Austin right now, really tight. Tight action, man.
Yeah, times are all tight now.
What?
He's not wrong.
Like David
Listen,
Cross?
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Really?
Little bit.
Okay.
Little bit.
All right.
It's the glasses and the beard that kind of bring it together. It is.
All right. I'm gonna go back and watch some Mr. Show and see if I can work on some routine to mimic, so I can really blow Blaze's mind. That, or I can do the whole like the scene from Arrested Development where he's biting the towel in the shower,
Right.
sobs uncontrollably.
So here's what I want to. Now I got all befuddled with what I wanted to ask you. I got blew it out of my head. So you're Bruce Hopkins for a moment, right? And let's pretend. And qual's going to change, right? This is going to change, and we'll talk about the lineup when we get to the race. 4:23 left to go here. But you're Bruce Hopkins. You're sitting in row one with Justin Secombe at the start of this race. You've got Burke beat. You've got Tomazic right behind you in row two. How concerned are you with beating either of those guys into turn one? Do you want? Do you hammer down so that you can one, stay out of trouble and keep a buffer between you and Jace Wright currently in P5, right? So going to start in row three, or do you do your best? But if one of them slips by you, that's okay, and you're going to try and fight the other one, right?
See,
like how much pressure do you put yourself under to hold that position when for the two people behind you, you don't have to worry about them because they're not in your class?
I personally see that's the thing though. I mean, we've watched enough rounds with Jace Wright and Bruce Hopkins, and I watched enough of Bruce Hopkins. Like, he strikes me as a guy who is pragmatic, but at the same time, it's like he just wants to chase people.
Okay.
He just wants the position. He wants to chase people. For him, it's about the race in like holistically, not so much like where the standings and stuff are. Sure, winning things are probably important to him, but he strikes me as the kind of guy who's just going to be like, I'm in front of you. You want to get around me? You got to work for it. Like there's no free lunch. So I suspect Bruce is gonna make sure that if he's going into turn 1 P3, I mean, if he can make a move to get P2, he's going to take it. If he can make a move to stay in P3, he's going to take it.
Gotcha. And we see there, as you mentioned, Stephen Tomazic takes up P2, going to share row one with Justin Secombe, if he can hold on to it here until the end of qualifying. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. Thank you so much for I Suck at This in the chat, subscribing with Prime for the second month in a row. You are awesome, sir. We much appreciate it.
It's your pro category leader right there, Mr. Jake Wells.
I know. Just killing it. I'm glad, you know what? I'm glad you're back, man, that you can match up these Twitch and Discord names with the actual names in game, because do you write everything? Do you have spreadsheets? Do you have 17 screens with spreadsheets around you? Because that's the only way I could understand how to do it. I can't figure out who these people are. Oh, and a new fastest lap from Secombe. Sorry, our first 135 of the day.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. No, for me, it's just sim racing and Twitch is like all I do. So like I just know it's like it's just like everyone's like it's like people you work with, right? They've got their own little nicknames and stuff like that. You just get used to everyone's on screen like avatars and stuff. So I'm cool with that.
Plus I'm old and slow. So.
Hey, I'm old and slow too. I'm just like quick in this one area.
In that one
slow
spot,
everywhere else. Like, ask me to bend over to tie my shoes, and then we'll all just laugh at how long that takes.
Justin Secombe running just a purple again, gonna try and extend that time a little bit over Tomazic. Right now, nobody really running higher on their best times. Alex Martin up by 1/10, Tristan Jonendijk up by 1/10 out on track, but that's about it. Your boy Blue now up 2/10 as folks get scooped up into qualifying incidents. McDaniels and Cardoso coming together during qualifying today. Chief Blaze, thank you for the sub, my man, supporting the channel, much appreciated.
So just looking at the folks still out on track, Bruce Hopkins not going to be able to take another shot at improving his time, sitting in the pits with 44 seconds left.
Yeah.
We've got 2 people still on flyers.
Your boy Blue now is flat, but Jonendijk's up 4/10 on his fastest. We'll see if it gets him anywhere, if he can hold on to it.
That would be big for Jonendijk.
And there it went. Just got him up to P12 ahead of John Rulin. And no one else showing ahead on their lap at this point. Pits are starting. Everybody's starting to head for the pits as we get ready for this race today. Burke Beat's still out trying. Ace right now showing up 10. Or 1/10, sorry. Chief in the chat saying he misses Sunday races. Maybe he'll come back next season and wreck everyone. First of all, they don't need your help. Second of all, why'd you stop showing up if you miss it? It was fun watching you race for the 1 or 2 that you made it for this season. 1. Just 1. Still fun to watch. We are night racing in Indianapolis today, ladies and gentlemen, as we get prepped up here for today's race. I got you, buddy. All right, take care of you, man. Gotta take care of you first.
I hear you, Blaze, man. You got to take care of yourself.
100%.
Just looking at the pit wall times right now, man, the difference maker for Justin seems to be really, really consistent in Sector 2. There's only a few people that seem to have Sector 2 on lock better than Justin Succumb right now, and that would be Josie Austin. Right? Yeah. And then pretty consistent at putting in some good times in Sector 3 as well. Only person with a faster time that I can see inside the top 10, it looks like, is Walsh.
Okay.
So Justin putting the pieces together in a way where he can keep it at the sharp end of this right now to the tune of 2/10. So you don't have a lot of experience watching racing or racing yourself around Indianapolis?
Myself? Me?
Yeah.
No. Man,
road course is tough.
Listen,
it's tough.
I got to get better at the ones that've been around for years before I start playing around on Indianapolis that's been out for a few months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's just going to get me in trouble. I will be back to driving next month, though, whether that is ACC or iRacing or ATS will remain to be seen, but I will be back next. With qualifying here at the end, Justin Seckham going to lead us off in row 1 with Steven Tomazic, Herke Beat, and Gian Cardoso in row 2. So we do have, 4 Pro-Am drivers up front to start today, but Bruce Hopkins going to share row 3 with Josie Austin. You see the mix we have here. Jace Wright in row 4 with Edward Walsh, Alex Martin, Stephen Music in row 10, Kenny O'Connor, Tristan Yonendijk row 6. I said row 10. Sorry, row 5. O'Connor and Yonendijk in row 6. Rulin and your boy Blue in row 7. Hepburn and Zwanenberg, row 8. James Taylor and Reynolds, the Warthog himself, row 9. Jester Flume and Kirk McDaniels will be here in row 10. Curious to see again the number of AM drivers mingled in amongst the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to how they've kind of developed over the entire season. Like I feel like you guys have had some folks that have really been able to put the pieces together for the season.
100%.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing wraps up in a track that's a pretty big equalizer like Bathurst.
And we are starting this race at 10:30 at night. Track temperature of 13 degrees Celsius. 30-minute race today. 1 mandatory pit stop. So what's the nighttime? And what is the track temp going to do to these cars today, Phil?
It's going to be about trying to get your pressures in the window after the race starts. So they're going to be sitting. They're going to get 30 seconds when they drop off the jacks where they can maintain a little bit of heat, but then it's going to start to dissipate quickly.
Okay.
When they go into turn 1, they're going to be on tires that are not in the window. And it's a heavy braking zone. The 90-degree right-hander into turn 1, especially with cars going side by side, that's going to be tough. So it's going to be all about, judging your braking, trying not to lock up, trying to be on the clean line so that you can get the maximum amount of grip because you're not going to be in the pressure window.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And then when you're not in the pressure window and you're dealing with cold tires, you're dealing with graining. Graining can create a situation where you get a lot of tearing on the surface of the tire. You get a lot of sliding effect from the tire. And it can just basically increase the effect on the tire life. Like the tire life will decrease quickly as you start to introduce graining into the tire. Now, the good news is it's 30-minute race, mandatory pit stop with fuel and tires, so they'll be able to get off of those worn-out shoes pretty quick once they get into the window, because I believe you guys don't necessarily open the window up immediately. I think you guys go some percentage before the window opens up.
I think it's the middle 10 minutes. I'm not sure if a window's set today or not, but that was going to be my question for you, is if that's the case, if you're going to, the first 10 minutes are going to give you an idea of where your tires should be, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're under pressure, over pressure, it's going to give you this idea of where to go. So in a race like this, is the undercut typically more helpful? Because the tires have grained, you can adjust pressures on your way in and maybe come back out. Granted, you've got to make those tires now last another 20 minutes, right, of this race, but they're fresh and you've kind of had a chance to dial in the pressures a little better so you don't get those issues.
It's going to be so tough. The pit lane here at Indianapolis is so long. It is one of the longest pit lanes.
Is it spa long?
In the game. It is spa long. It is.
Really?
It is.
Wow.
It is wild how long the pit lane is, because it's almost the entire front. Actually, it is the entire front straight.
Okay.
Like the entire length of it is pit lane. Undercut, overcut. Let's talk about scenarios where undercut's going to be effective. If you're a person that is getting into a situation where you're going to be running up against back markers, undercut could potentially be useful. If I'm chasing you down, I'm not going to let you undercut me. I'm going to follow you into the pits.
Okay.
I'm going to try and keep you equalized with where the pit stop happens, relative. Because if we're not going to have any clear air in front of us, I'm not going to try the overcut. The only time the overcut I think is going to be valuable around here is if you've got a buffer in front. But if you're starting to run up against blue flags, or you're starting to deal with any kind of like traffic situation or anything like that, taking the undercut is probably going to be the way to run it. But we're going to have to see. Night race, cold temperatures. People are not the most familiar with this track. It's probably, I would put it in the bottom 3 or bottom 4 tracks in ACC that people actually get time on. So we'll see how that traffic scenario builds out over 30 minutes. Well, specifically over 15 minutes, because if you go half and half with your fuel tank, you're going to be pitting somewhere inside that middle 10 minutes. So we'll see.
I'd be curious.
It'll be interesting.
I think it's our first night race of the season, our only possible night race of the season. We've had rain races. The guys actually do a lot better in those because everybody's a little more cautious. And I'm wondering if the nighttime will bring that out as well, especially given these low track temperatures. If maybe this fixes the issue of the last 2 weeks where things calm down a little bit because, well, we're not going to have that. And I am showing... Unless my track map is wrong. Yeah, I don't see a car. I don't know why it's there, but I thought maybe we had a pit starter. Doesn't look like it. We are now in double file, ready to go, however. Get this race started. Indianapolis, an ultimate race of Season 5. Back next week for Bathurst, but first we've got to get around Indy. Retro, you got to stop. Retro in the chat has got to stop. It's every week with him now. He wants full send from everybody. How'd that work out at Watkins? And we are green. We are green. Tristan Yonendijk.
Wow, what a jump.
Something happened.
I don't see it.
I see contact between O'Connor and Steven Music.
Tomazic got off to a rocket start.
He did.
But Justin battling back into turn 1. I think he's going to lose out, though. The line just benefits the NSX a little bit more through this complex.
It did right there, and there he goes. We do have incidents already. Josie Austin, Bruce Hopkins coming together, Steven Music, Kenny O'Connor. Trying to see what happened to Tristan Yonendijk. And he's in the pits, just like that.
I'm going to go...
I don't know what happened there, but...
What I'll do while you're doing your thing, I'm going to switch over to replay mode and see if I can jump back and take a look and see.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see Bruce Hopkins now sliding to the back and a ton of contact. Oh my goodness, we got problems back here. Somewhere people are just look at the entire grid is lit up with contact notices. Wow, except for now Gian Cardoso up front. What is going on? You can't even catch stuff here. Why am I not catching anything? Your boy Blue up into 7th. Now Steven Tomazik leading, but Justin Secombe right there.
Interesting. I'm seeing some really
Tomazik out wide and giving Secombe the open door to walk through as we start lap 2.
Now see, this right here is going to introduce that traffic situation we were talking about before. I'm still digging around trying to find out what all has happened.
Zach, I'm able to take over P1 again with Tomazik, and now Gian Cardoso right there. A ton of contact in lap 1. We're going to have to go back and review that during recovery drive, if not today. No way to see how those cars all came together. Burke beat. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say this might not be a replay worth showing on stream because it does not paint the field in a very good light.
Gotcha.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Gotcha. Terrell Saints Taylor getting hammered by Burke beat. Bumped out. Now back into P10. Your boy Blue gets around Steven Music. Second taking off a little bit now, a 6/10 gap, but Tomazik having to deal with Gian Cardoso.
Yeah, so Justin's going to have to, not pay attention too much to the drama happening around him. He's going to have to maximize the time he's got on these tires because he's not going to have too long before we hit that pit window.
Well, and the thing is now, with Cardoso applying pressure to Tomazik, and there's a push right there and sends him off into the grass as Cardoso looks to get around. Looks like he's handing it back to Tomazik, but now Josie Austin is going to get mixed up in this. And here's the issue. Because of that, look now, Secombe's 3 seconds up. Just like that, he's running away with this race.
Yeah, and this is kind of like, this is one of those things where, this is kind of where I was talking before about, like, I'm kind of curious. I'm looking back through the replay and stuff and seeing the kinds of lines that people are taking through some of these corners. Again, this is kind of the thing where people are not necessarily familiar with other people's braking points, other people's corner entries, where people are turning in at, and it just seems like a lot of people are getting surprised with, oh, there's a car there.
Yeah. Diesel, you redeemed for Robinson. Give me a car number, if you would, please.
Oh, Robinson?
Yeah, is there... Oh, there it is, 17. There, the 22 car. I'm looking down the list, but I'm trying to watch the race at the same time. We will go on board in just a few moments, sir. Give me a minute here, as we still got some tight racing going on. Take a look. Terrell Saints Taylor now in P11 after getting pushed out by Burke beat. Beat about to apply pressure to your boy Blue. Alex Martin already into the pits.
I love Blue. He's the lone Bentley.
Yep, he's the only one still running it. Sorry, Diesel man, you're right. I apologize.
I think Burke was one of the cars that got involved in some of the early track shenanigans. There was a moment where he got kind of sent off track before I can't remember if it was the chicane, but he got sent off in a pretty big way and just had to ride through the grass. But I think the problem is that you hit the brakes on the grass, you're just going to slide. So then he slides back across traffic, doesn't hit anybody, thankfully.
Okay.
And then goes off track on the other side. So it's just one of those things where it's like, this track is catching a lot of people out and by surprise. And we got two M4s coming together, and now Alexis is coming out of the pits.
Josie Austin able to hold on against Jace Wright, but very, very barely so far. Was catching up with Cardoso and had to step back and play a little defense. Taylor and Ruin. Terrell Saints Taylor holding on for now.
Yeah, Jace Wright was another one of those cars involved in the early shenanigans. I think him and Bruce Hopkins actually came together, which is unfortunate because those two are fighting pretty closely in AM class.
Bruce Hopkins now yellow flagged and dropping off. Looks like he got slowed up there.
Yeah, Hopkins just looks like it's not a race that he was hoping for.
Yeah, no kidding. Tristan Jonendijk still sitting in the pits. It looks like Jonendijk might be done for today. 282 seconds. Still shows him sitting there, but Let's take a look at Mike Robinson. We got a little bit of a gap now. Go on board as requested by Chi Kuba in the chat. See, it takes me a few minutes to put those names together, but Diesel TTV is cheap, so I have to remember that. I won't. I'll forget by next week.
I just went back and looked at what happened to Hopkins, and he got a moment on the exit curve, went a little too deep, right tire dipped into the grass, and then the car just pirouettes right off track.
Oh, that's okay. It's a little bit too much of a push there, I guess. Burke beat setting the new fastest lap.
Out of the wall, though.
That's good. But Burke beat setting the new fastest lap today, 136.055, still sitting in 6th place. Jace Wright catching up to Josie Austin.
Really quick in that AMG. Really.
On board right now with Mike Robinson. Currently sitting P19.
So Jace Wright, Josie Austin, and you got
we got
Reynolds
cars. So did you just see that? Hold on. Watch this. Watch this view from Mike Robinson's point of view. Oh, why did it take me off? Didn't give me the cockpit. But you got a car coming out of the pits. You got another car dipping through the grass. I mean, Robinson's now up into P17 just like that. Is this what Indianapolis does to people?
Again, I feel like it's one of those tracks where, because people don't necessarily get a lot of seat time here, people get caught out. People are unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And what I don't think the audience quite realizes is you can be a very talented and fast driver. But if you're not familiar with the track, if you have not put in the time, a fast driver at a track they're not familiar with is a person who can become quickly surprised with either cars slowing down too early, taking turn-ins at different points, and then lo and behold, you're arriving at the scene of a crash very quickly.
And Frank Reynolds decides to take out one of the markers there in the corner, allowing Bruce Hopkins to slip by. Tristan in the chat saying, I think I was bugged again, stuck in pit for you guys while on my screen I was driving again. Happened in the Bathurst Enduro. So yeah, according to our screen, Tristan Yonadike is right there in this number 6-9 car, sitting in the pits. Apparently that is not true.
Yeah, the thing about ACC is sometimes it can be a pretty buggy experience.
No,
but
you're right.
yeah, I know. So just looking at the timesheets again, Jace Wright putting pressure on Josie Austin. That's a pretty tight fight. Also, Steve Music and Kenny O'Connor, they're getting pretty close. And then Robinson's starting to catch up to Scenes Taylor.
Taylor working hard today. He wants another top 10 finish for the end of this season.
So Jace Wright has some front end damage on that Liquid Moly M4. Josie Austin was involved in a little bit of contact, but the car doesn't look like it's got nearly the same amount of damage, at least from my camera shot, as Jace Wright does.
There we go. Mike Robinson able to get around Taylor.
Yep.
Keep our eyes focused here on Josie Austin and Jace Wright. Jace Wright, the AM-class driver, chasing down Josie Wright as a Pro-Am. Going to keep that pressure up. And again, you're talking about someone like Wright right now, has no real competition. I mean, Burke beat Pro-Am, your boy Blue Pro-Am, both behind him. Between the two of them, let's get back to Steven Music. When you add those times up, Music's about 13, 14 seconds back, right?
Yeah.
So really, Wright can let Josie by, can try and get around Josie, can try and have that fight, or can just try and maintain pace. I don't know which the better call is here if I'm just looking to stay ahead of Music.
If I'm Jace Wright and I'm faster than Josie, I'm going to want to try and get around. You don't want to lose a lot of time relative to your competitors, even if you have a buffer, because again, long pit lane here at Indianapolis, you screw up a pit stop or something like that, and it can be a very costly endeavor.
Yeah.
Now we're in the pit window, so I'm interested to see. We do have some folks that have pulled the trigger mostly towards the back of the field, P16 back. Cars going into the pits for that scheduled pit stop. Justin though right now on the gravy train right now, 4.8 seconds ahead.
And Tomazic heading in right now.
Yeah, so Tomazic going to go for the undercut. Justin's in a prime position for the overcut. He's got a lot of space before he gets to car 136, which is exiting turn 7 on the way to turn 8 right now.
Okay.
So this is an area where the overcut could be beneficial. I was wondering if the chaos would get kind of like triggered in a way where you would see a lot of cars going into the pits and coming out in the line of traffic and stuff like that, but it doesn't appear to be the case. We'll find out though when the 103 car comes back around towards the pit entry.
Yeah, so Justin Seckham running it out right now, had a huge gap already. I mean, obviously he's got pace on these tires, so if I'm him, I'm in no hurry, right? I can let these tires, I mean, with minute 35 laps, that's another, what, 6 laps you're getting in before the close of the window, if that?
Yeah.
And I have that pace and I have that much of a gap. I'm happy to stay on these until the last possible second. I don't need to be in any kind of rush to go in and change fuel, or get new fuel, change tires, or anything, when I can just hang out and open up my lead a little bit further. Frank Reynolds now coming under pressure from the 460 car of Robert Hepburn.
We did end up with stop go 30 for Walsh, probably for a pit lane speed infraction. I'm wondering when's Tomazic? It's the 343 car still sitting on pit road.
Wow, that's a long stop right there for Tomazic. He's coming out now, but 52 seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Take a look.
That's okay. That's due to the long pit lane. So
yeah, that's all long pit lane, man.
Yep.
All long.
That's
pit.
a lot. Believe it or not, 52 seconds. So that's a long pit lane. My goodness.
Yeah. So the thing is that I think your pit calculations are probably going to be a lot more accurate than mine this time, because with mine, like you have to have like a really short pit lane for the full delta to be kind of representative here.
Okay.
So you're probably going to have a little bit more accuracy than me.
Gotcha.
I'm looking right now. I want to try and see if I can figure out from the pit. I just want to kind of see where.
Your boy Blue, Steven Music, Jester Floomp all heading into the pits now. But Justin Seckham, Gian Cardoso, Josie Austin. Josie Austin fighting off Jace Wright, continues to fight off Jace Wright. Nobody in the top 8 looking to take a pit stop at this point.
So we do have some quick pit stops. Robinson with a 142 total.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. Tomazic 135.8. So there's your quick one right there.
Wow, I guess.
We're going to use that one. We're going to use that one as the measuring stick.
Steven Music able to get out of the pits ahead of your boy Blue, it looks like. We'll see how that worked out. For some reason, it moved him ahead of Blue. But if they're both sitting, Josie Austin continuing to fight.
So Justin Seckham really on easy street right now. 9 laps under his belt. 10 seconds, 10.5 to Josie Austin. I'm waiting to see when he pulls the trigger, because I kind of want to see where Tomazic is in relation to him, to kind of see if he's been able to build a bit of a gap. So Steven Music with a 135.6. And
just got out ahead of Blue.
Blue a 138.7. So Blue leaving 2 seconds on the table relative to Steven Music. That's not what you want to be doing out here.
But Music just letting Blue by right there. You all saw it on your screen. I don't know if he's not comfortable on the new tires or what might be going on, but Music just let Blue slip right back by him.
That is, maybe just not getting involved in interclass warfare. He's just like, maybe. This guy's a silver. I'm just gonna let him, or a pro-am. I'm just gonna let him go.
Could very well be. That's curious.
I mean, I would have kept the buffer between myself and Kenny O'Connor, but you know.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe again though, maybe not comfortable on those fresh tires yet. If they weren't up to where he wanted them to be, and he didn't feel like trying to have a battle while trying to get pressures where he wanted them.
Man, just talking real quick. I wanted to go over like relative pace, because Justin Seckham is everything he needs to be doing right now. Pumping in 36s, low 36s, pretty much on the average. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see.
Well, second into the pits. Josie Austin going to take over the lead of this race. Jace Wright, Burke Beat both in now. So that's going to split things up quite a bit with 6 of the top 8 drivers now into the pits.
So I'm watching Tomazic right now in 343 in Sector 1, about to cross Sector 2 boundary. So he's in Sector 2 now. He's about to hit the back straight. I'm going to keep my eye on him relative to Justin in the 103 and see what we're looking at for how this pit stop's going to shake out.
There's that penalty for Edward Walsh getting cleared out. Frank Reynolds is able to take up P13 with Terrell Sainz Taylor in the pit, now heading out. So Josie Austin, our current race leader, having not yet made that pit stop. Looks like Josie will be the last one to make the pit. Got about 2.5 minutes left. Yeah, got about 2.5 minutes left to hit that window. So probably, I would assume, going to dive in on this lap. Justin second back out now. What was his total?
Oh, man, it's going to be so close. It hasn't clocked it yet because he hasn't exited the control line.
Oh,
he just
gotcha.
crossed the control line with a 37.0.
Wow.
Which is a bit problematic because he basically just handed over 2 seconds to Tomazic that he didn't need to. But
to be fair, I mean, Tomazic's still 4.6 back right now. So let's take a look at Cardoso and Wright as they start coming together.
So let's talk about that though. So all the gap that Justin built with the overcut, he gave up in the pit stop.
Yeah.
Because when Tomazic went into the pits, he was 4.8 behind Justin. So Justin got another 2.2 on him in the overcut with Tomazic trying to navigate around traffic and cars that hadn't pitted in front of him yet. And then Justin goes into the pits, goes up on the jacks, and just completely throws that time that he gained out the window.
It gives it right back to him.
Yeah. So if I'm Tomazic, I'm just like looking at the fact that it's like, okay, all right, you're not out of this. Pedal to the metal. Josie Austin 71 seconds ahead as Josie goes into the pit stop. Let me go switch over to Josie now and take a look.
You got to admit, Jace Wright having a fantastic race today, sitting in the top 5 right now, still chasing down Gian Cardoso. Has Burke beat and your boy Blue between him and his next competition, Steven Music, in-class competition of Steven Music. And a nice gap there, 12.3 back to beat from these guys. A total of about 25 seconds, I would say, once you add it all up between Jace and Steven Music. It's a nice gap to carry into the second half of this race.
Jace and Josie are going to be right on the wire as they come out of the pits. I think Josie just barely squeaked out in front.
No, Josie just behind Cardoso.
Yeah, but Jace Wright is like right behind Josie.
And Wright is right there.
So we got a tight one here.
But if I'm Josie, I don't care about Wright. You know what I mean? I don't care about Wright. I want to catch Cardoso and get that top 3 finish.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is it just strikes me as Jace Wright's just gonna. You're holding me up. I'm gonna find my way around you.
He is pushing right now. That is for sure. What happened to Blue? LA Kings Dave asked in the chat, what happened to Blue? Nothing happened to Blue. Blue's just awful.
I mean, you
what
say that. Blue's up
Blue? I know.
Blue's up in P7 right now.
He is. He's
doing pretty
well
good.
Today.
What's the gain loss for Blue this race?
Let's take a look at the gain loss for this race. Position delta. I mean, Blue's up 7 spots today.
Yeah,
so what happened to Blue is Blue did a good job today. Yeah, very good job.
I think the boat had fair winds, they would say.
Blue actually one of, between Blue and Michael Zwanenberg are 2 winners today, both up 7 spots on this race so far. So if Blue can hold where he's at, and right now, really nobody there to apply pressure. He's got Steven Music behind him, not a class competitor. Michael Zwanenberg behind him, And taking a look at the gaps real quick, I mean, he's got a good 3-4 seconds there that if he can maintain that buffer and stay consistent till the end of this race, he should be able to walk in and hold on to P7, P5 in class. But Josie Austin still holding Jace Wright at bay. Burke beat plenty far back. I think Josie's good with a top 4 finish today, but I don't know with trying to play defense against Wright if she's going to be able to close up on Cardoso and make a play for P3 before the end of this race. 8 minutes and 20 seconds left to go.
I think with the relative pace difference between them right now, I think
she's going to get him.
I think Austin and Wright could definitely make a play to get around Cardoso before the end of this race.
Perfect.
Both of these M4 drivers have been racing the whole night with their elbows out, so it's going to be a spicy meatball if they catch up to Cardoso.
Yeah.
I just want to look at relative lap times right now. 136.9 for Cardoso. I'm waiting for it to calculate for Josie and for Jace.
Now you're talking about since the pit stop, yeah?
Since the pit stop, yeah.
Okay.
Now, Cardoso's tires are 2 laps older.
Yeah.
But they also should have gotten it. They should have been in prime temperature window by the time Jace and Josie had popped out of the pits. But yeah, we'll see, because just waiting. I'm still waiting to get an average lap time from Josie and from Jace. Jace 137.3, so never mind. So relative to Cardoso, Jace Wright's starting to lose a little bit of ground. Looks like Josie's starting to stabilize a little bit behind Cardoso. So Josie's going to have to put a little bit more effort in to close this, what 9/10 gap?
Right now, yeah. No, from to Cardoso, I'm showing about 1.8. The gap's actually starting to open up at this point.
Interesting. I wonder if it's Josie just trying to hold Jace Wright off.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, Wright's right there. That's now close to within 0.3. But the gap between Cardoso and Austin had held pretty steady at about 1 second, and now it's starting to flex between 1.5 and 1.8. So I think Josie's feeling pressure.
Here's an interesting thought if I'm Josie.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're struggling to keep Jace behind
and right there, it just closed up though. We are bunching up, and Austin just shot up the inside. Cardoso able to hold on to it for now, but we're gonna go side by side down the line. Let's go, Josie Austin on the outside. A little bit of contact there, but can Cardoso hold on? Oh, and we've got him. Oh boy. It is getting spicy. You said it was going to get spicy. You were not lying.
I know. It's just everybody's starting to kind of like all converge at the kind of a involving some traffic, a little bit of a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Yep.
Looks like Jace Wright might have let Josie go back around. I don't know if there was like some sort of like
well, they are showing contact, so
might have been like, my bad, let him back around, but or let Josie back around, but definitely. Yeah, it's definitely getting spicy. Hey, I was just thinking though, if I'm Josie, maybe let Jace go. Not in your class, like let him go. If Jace can catch, Cardoso, and slow him down,
force him into a fight. Yep,
that's better for you.
Now, do you think 5 minutes is enough time to make that play though?
Maybe I would have let him know.
She'd have to let him around now. Right?
Yeah, I'd have made that play sooner.
Yeah,
but that's also me. Like Josie's a bit of a street fighter in the M4, so I'm not surprised that Josie's like, nah, that's okay. If you want to pass me, there's no free lunch.
I'll take the top 4. I'm good with that. Class or no class.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, people say it like it's a bad thing. Sometimes people race with no class. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's a good thing.
Well, I think if it forces you to push yourself no matter what, right? Again, Jace Wright being one of those AM drivers that I think we've watched get better throughout this entire season. If I'm Josie and I've shared the track across 5 rounds so far, this being round 6, and I know that Jace has pace, maybe I don't want to let him by, right? I want to give him this fight, because you know what? Next season, we might be in the same class if we don't both move up. If he moves up and I don't, we might both be in the same class. So let's go ahead and take this. Let's rumble this now when we don't really have to.
Yeah. Another close fight you guys have on track. Rulin and Kenny O'Connor.
Yep.
Right now. So Tomazic has closed that gap down now to about 3.5 seconds, but I think he's running out of wall clock time. So it's going to be it's gonna be a miracle for Tomazic.
Yeah, we're getting down to 3.5 minutes, so you're talking 2 laps, maybe 3, depending on the timing and where they are on track.
Yep.
I don't think we're going to see him be able to close that up. John Rulin, Kenny O'Connor running close. Michael Zwanenberg, the one in front of him. So really the battle is between these two. Zwanenberg, not a problem for either being out of class. But if they've got pace, see if they close it down. Your boy Blue, again, having a great race, now currently in P8 overall. But we just take a look at Blue's position gain, still up 6 on the day. Michael Zwanenberg right behind him, up 7. So really good days for really good race for both of those guys. A couple other wins. Frank Reynolds up 5 spots. Jester Flump, Mike Robinson. A lot of good racing here. Kenny O'Connor, Justin Secombe, and Stephen Tomazic holding position throughout this race. The only 3 to hold position throughout this race.
Man, I'm telling you, it's a spicy one. Indianapolis will catch you by surprise.
Austin and Wright starting to come back together again. We get to watch this battle right to the end of the race. We talked about this, how the battles do not stop anymore.
Yeah.
Not like they used to.
I will say this, the field did get spread out quite a bit in this race. But I think the early first lap shenanigans definitely kind of split the field basically about halfway around the track. And then once pit stops kicked in and some people took the pits early, they were able to stay out in front of, or not stay out in front. They were basically, you had a bunch of the front runners overcutting, getting caught up with some of those early pit stop takers when they're popping out of the pits. So it was just interesting.
But I gotta say, I probably the person most disappointed today has got to be Bruce Hopkins.
Yeah, it is not a race that that Bruce is gonna want to remember too much. No. 4 laps, down 4 laps. But again, like I'm Team Bruce Hopkins. Like I said, he's a good dude. I'm looking forward to see what he can do in the Fezza around Bathurst because I feel like it's a pretty strong fight there. If you can keep it from pogo sticking at the top of the mountain.
Right. Keep it off the walls, boys. And keep it out of each other. My goodness. But yeah, Hopkins has got to be disappointed today. Currently running 20th, 2 laps down. Looking to finish. I mean, currently sitting 4th in the standings with missing 2 races. This is a guy who finished 3rd, 1st, and 1st in the 3 races he participated in, now running last. So Brandon Walrath not going to make it today for the race.
I know, man, and Brandon's like super quick.
Sitting in 3rd. Sitting in 3rd for silver class. That's a shame. We hope but listen, Brandon, come back next week. Hopefully get back next week for Bathurst. It's double points next week.
That's going to be awesome. Double point finish. All right. Where is
John Rulin and Michael Zwanenberg going to decide to battle it out here at the end. Again, a lot of interclass battles is what we're getting now. We're not seeing a real class fight here.
Yeah, Blue, Zwanenberg, both performing really well here in Indianapolis. Unfamiliar tracks can be a bit of an equalizer sometimes. It does look like with Justin coming around the final corner, he's going to cross the line. That's going to be the race end. Justin stuck him in the 103 M4, man. Wow.
So another win today for Justin Secombe. That's going to propel him quite a ways up over the competition. Stephen Tomazic finishing 2nd. Gian Cardoso, our current 2nd place runner. Those two might flip-flop with that. Tomazic might end up in 2nd place in the standings going into next week's race at Bathurst. Josie Austin in 4th, Jace Wright finishing in 5th, and Jace taking the AM class win for today. Burke Beat comes across the line in 6th. as Steven Music looks to finish out. Going to take P2 in AM class. And your boy Blue in 8th, Michael Zwanenberg, John Ruhlin. AM class drivers all finishing in the top 10. Top 3 all finishing in the top 10 of the race, of a multi-class race. That's kind of fantastic.
That's going to be a really good boon for, if I'm looking at the points right now, it's going to be a really good boon for John Ruhlin right now, who's sitting on 90 points going this round. Not that far off of Chai Kuba and Terrell Scenes Taylor. Well, actually, kind of far off from Terrell Scenes Taylor, but a really good result for him. Terrell Scenes Taylor back in, I think, 14th overall. That's not going to be the kind of points that's going to keep him in front of John Ruhlin. So it's going to be interesting to see where they shake out going into double points.
Things are going to get very, I think things are going to get very curious here at the end of this season, the way they've gone so far.
Man, Fluke in 14th overall. Your points leader in AM. 14th.
Didn't do well today, I guess, huh?
Steve Music coming away with some good points with that second place finish. Jace Wright coming away with some good points in that first place finish in AM. AM looks like that is going to be the spicy ball.
Right?
Sure.
I'll bring it together for next week. I cannot wait for next week. I'm so excited. So excited for next week's race. As we jump over to our Pro and Silver class racing, ready to go here. Prowling Panther. Okay, I officially do not like Indy. This is McDaniels, by the way. So McDaniels is not a fan of Indianapolis. What do you think?
I mean, I'm a fan. Like, that's just me. Like, I like Indianapolis because I feel like it catches people off guard. And really getting to get out here and see some of these drivers put on a show. That battle between Josie and Jace, though, that was
class
else.
For no class position. That's fantastic.
For no class, but at the same time too,
Let's have fun.
I felt like that was good for Josie. Good points. Josie Austin, 2-time more female racers champion, I believe.
Wow.
And Jace Wright not pulling any punches just because Josie's pro-am.
That's awesome. A bit of a smaller grid here for Pro and Silver drivers this week. Let's talk about it real quick before I step away for a moment and take a quick break before this race gets kicked off. Currently still in the practice sessions, about 6 minutes left to go. Timothy Glendinning leads the Silver class with Lewis Ruckard and Brandon Walrath. We know Brandon from chat saying he's not going to be able to make it today. That gives opportunity to Rob Kesar. Is Kesar on track? Yes, he is. Just set the purple lap right there so far. But Rob, that gives opportunity to Rob Kesar to move into a podium position going into the last race. Walrath sitting at 167 points, Kesar at 152. So really going to be curious to see what Rob can do in the 992 Porsche this week. Maybe get himself up there with Walrath unable to attend. Mike Burkhoff, Gasolina, Nikolai Tsiabuk, Ridian Lloyd Davis, Matt Comiskey, and Igor Kornikov round out your top 10 for the Silver class. Let's talk about pro drivers on track today. Jake Wells returns. He is currently holding in first. Charlie Tooth, the man from Australia, is in second for pro right now. And Anthony Anderson holding on to third. Charlie Booth and Anderson are separated by 2 points for the season right now. By 2 points.
Yeah, it's going to be such a tough fight at the front end of this. Like I was saying earlier in the stream, the podium battles across the categories feel like going to be pretty spicy going into the double points at Bathurst.
Oh yeah.
Really looking forward to seeing how Indianapolis works out with these guys tonight, though. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be good.
The other one I'm going to keep an eye on, Tom Foose in fourth, but Tobias Gable. Tobias, probably one of my favorite Box 3 drivers. I like seeing his consistency. I've watched Tobias since the Xbox days. And being the case, I just really like seeing how he does. He's currently in fifth. But again, we talk about those point standings. He's only 6 points back from Foose, right?
Yeah.
So both are on track today. These guys pretty consistent between the two of them. Foose having missed a race, though, it's going to be curious, but Gable did very well this season. 5, 3, 11, 7, and 2 for finishes across the first 5 rounds. Nothing wrong with that, and I'm curious to see where he lands against Tom Foose going into that final double points round. Jarrett Skinner, Paul Morris, and Alejandro Aguilar and Wyardi Rumbout, along with Rocky Rocco, round out the top 10 in pro standings for this season so far today. So Indianapolis is going to be fun. Again, a nighttime race coming up here as we wait for practice to wind down. So, sir, I'm going to take a quick step away. Do you want me to leave autopilot on, or would you like to take over and be able to show some stats or anything, or what would you like to do? It's up to you.
I'd say leave it on the autopilot.
I'll
talk with folks while I'm looking at the stats on my end, because I'm going to switch over to the SimGrid page, which, if you are not following Box3 on SimGrid, do yourself a favor, hop on over to the simgrid.com, search for Box3, add them to your hosts, and follow along with us as we're going through the season. Looking at the standings as I'm watching on screen with you all, let's check and see. Anthony Anderson, man, has been so strong this season. First place finish in round 2, another podium finish in round 4 of the season. 207 points, 2 points between him and Charlie Booth. I think that's a close fight between those two. They're gonna have to put in some work. Jake Wells is gonna have a tragic race for it to go down to the wire in Bathurst with double points. If they let Jake get a little bit too far ahead, to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if I would see Charlie Booth and Anthony Anderson gentlemen's agreement. Let's just make Jake's life a little bit miserable so that we can make it a good finale for the final for the double points. I think it's gonna be a good race though. Indianapolis is a surprisingly good race. Prowling Panther couldn't find any consistency to save your life. That's just the thing about Indy, man. It's a track that people get so little time on, and I feel like that just, it can make it tough. I mean, don't get me wrong, Prowling, you might get more time on it and feel like you've got it down and you got it comfortable and stuff like that. But I would say relative probably to the rest of the tracks that you race in ACC, I'd probably put Indy at the bottom 3 or bottom 4 for just about everybody. Booth is not a gentleman. You guys said it, not me. So Igor Kornikov. Let's check in with Igor's standings right now. Still over right now. 10th place, 139 points. Not far off Matt Comiskey. M4 really performing well this season in Season 5 Box 3. Gonna see what Igor can do in this race. Man, that did not start round 2. Definitely going to catch Igor out. Probably would be a little bit higher up in the standings. Might be close to taking a shot at Nikolay Sayabuk. Let me see here. What else we got going? Yeah, points are close. Points are close. I like it. I think you guys are going to have a really good show today. It looks like Jake Wells is really just going to mask his pace in this free practice session, not hopping out on track and doing anything. We're about to switch over to quali, though, and that's going to change everything. Switch over to here now. Tom Foose. 35.635 for lap 4 for his fastest, currently sitting in position 3. Another M4 driver, performing very well on track. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys welcoming me back. I'm tripping over my tongue a little bit. I'm a bit out of casting practice, so thank you guys for being patient with me. 35.310 top time to beat Jarrett Skinner. That Ferrari's quick around here. Ferrari is strong at Indy. For the balance of performance, I think Indy is one of Ferrari's best tracks. That's another reason why Bruce Hopkins is going to be a little bit disappointed, because it definitely could have been a good points-paying weekend for Bruce. I'm hoping he comes back. I think the Ferrari is also strong at Bathurst. I think its consistency, and its performance with in terms of like suspension and stuff like that in the mountain section can make it a bit of a death trap. So we'll see. Cars are heading out on track. Waiting to see who goes at it first. Quality around here is going to be super important. Turn 1, 90-degree right-hander. It's a tough one. Starting your grind on Bathurst. Probably not a mistake there. Tactical. Tom Foose taking the long roll down pit road. Paul Morris in front of him in the 219. Let's check on Paul Morris' stats to see. Paul Morris. Where is Paul Morris at? We're in the pro category. Paul Morris currently sitting in 7th. 133, 10 points back from Jarrett Skinner, who was setting the pace here earlier. So that might be a bit of a tough fight for the Porsche around here. Porsche at least doesn't have to deal with the lack of fuel tank because it's a 45-minute race. Again, they're going to have to take a mandatory pit stop for tires and fuel. So one of the bigger weaknesses for the Porsche around here in Indianapolis is not going to be a factor here. Yeah, but the Honda is also pretty strong around Bathurst. Again, it's one of those cars that can be a bit tricky from a handling perspective, especially in the mountain section, but I feel like if you can get it nailed down, straight line pace of it's going to be pretty powerful down Conrad and Mountain Straight, so just focus on your consistency, man. Focus on your consistency, because to be perfectly honest, your pace doesn't matter at Bathurst. It's whether or not you can keep it out of the wall.
I'm back with you, sir, after my cat just tried to kill me.
Aren't cats deadly?
Well, this one attempted to take my life twice coming back down the stairs, so yeah.
It's wild. Like we adopted a cat, like one cat, and then like I get ready to go visit my folks and stuff, and then we adopt 2 more. I'm like, what?
Oh my.
Why do we have 3 cats?
Well, the fun part is 2 cats, 2 dogs, 2 kids. Like, my wife and I just decided to double down on everything, I guess. Red Rider, I see my cat bribe worked. Yeah, well, now he just flopped on the floor and gave up, so he didn't work that well. So Jarrett Skinner, no time set yet with 17 minutes left of qualifying to go. Night racing at Indianapolis continues here with Pro and Silver Class Racing. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to take a quick minute here and just talk about coming up next week, as we said, Bathurst. I can't wait, Phil.
Double points, man. It's going to be good.
It's going to be so good.
I'm really looking forward to it, man.
The ultimate race, the final race of Season 5 here at Box 3 Motorsports, and Bathurst is just going to be an absolute blast. And if you want to talk about what happened during the AM and Pro-Am race in Lap 1, don't forget to join us for Recovery Drive. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will return with Rig Roast. We're going to talk about Indy. We're going to talk about the upcoming Bathurst race with some of the guys. For those of you on the Discord, I have created a new role called Recovery Drive. I'll be putting out a post this week. We'd like, we've had regular folks on every week on Recovery Drive. Alex Martin's joined us, Adam Willey, Anthony Anderson, but we'd like to open that up to the league as an entirety, the more the drivers. So if drivers want to join us, we want to make it easier for you to do so without tagging everybody. So we'll put one of those posts out that tags everyone that says, hey, if you want this, react to this post. If you want the role, you're going to be able to join the show. We'll have a special channel on the Discord that we can discuss, what's coming up and timing and everything. So obviously can't have 20 people on at a time for a show, because that's just going to be unruly and unable to be any kind of fun. But 4, 5, 6 folks at a time, Usually we have up to 4 on camera and then a few via audio with Ridian Lloyd Davis joining us regularly as well. So stay tuned for that. If you want to join Recovery Drive, I would encourage y'all to do so. Jake Wells with a purple lap right there ahead of Tom Foose, but Tom Foose running out about a 10th up. See if he can hold on to it. And I hate to say it, I'm going to commentate curse Charlie Booth so hard this week and next week. It's going to be unbelievable.
You guys are brutal.
Hey,
brutal.
Listen, it's not my fault he's from Australia and drives fast, but then at the same time, I want him to crash every race. That's not my fault. Tobias Gable with the fastest lap. Look at this jumping up there all of a sudden. 135.242.
While you were gone, I was talking about the balance of performance around here being kind of more in favor of the Ferrari. Ferrari's a pretty quick car around Indianapolis. Jared Skinner was on top of the timesheets, but I think Wells and Tobias were kind of like holding back a little bit in free practice, not really tipping their hand.
Yeah.
35.242, and then 600ths of a second to the pro class leader, Mr. Jake Wells.
Yeah, Jake Wells now
probably streaming right now. It's probably streaming right now. If you want to go watch him, check him out. I suck at this.
With a 5, though, you gotta.
With a 5, yeah, because he's clever. I like Jake. I got to race with Jake and Eric Kikasi. Or no, it was Jake and Blaine Hall at the first Box 3 Trackalicious 949 finale at Bathurst. That was such a fun race. And Jake, it was my first time really meeting Jake, and just salt of the earth kind of guy. Yeah. Super positive, super fun awesome to watch. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do with 2 rounds left in the season. But he does jump back on top with a 34.955. A 34.
So a 34 now. First one we've seen today. So
and we get a 34.5.
That's what I was going to say. Like, what time should we expect from the? We saw what we got with the Am and Pro Am drivers. Should we see a 33 here? Do you think we're going to see a 33 or no?
Let me hop over to the Hot Lap leaderboard and take a look at Indianapolis and see what we're looking at for actual. So Tinko Vandervelde 33.5 was top time in a Ferrari. Now look at this. What was I saying about the balance of performance? Ferrari holds the top of the top 10 spots. It holds 8 of them.
Wow. Meanwhile, here we've got 3 McLarens running in the top 3 today, just like we saw in our standings. For pro class, it's all McLarens. Yeah. So Anderson, Jake Wells, Charlie Booth, and Anderson just sitting up there in the top 3 in the standings and top 3 on track in order today here at Indianapolis. Yeah. And to be honest, I won't lie. I think this could be the best result for today, right? Let these in the standings. They're 1, 2, 3. Let them qualify 1, 2, 3. Let them finish this race 1, 2, 3, because I want to see what happens next week with double points at Bathurst.
Oh, if I'm Charlie Booth or I'm Anderson, the only thing, like, I'm not really paying attention to the other guy. Mm-hmm. Finish ahead of Jake Wells.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, you make Jake Wells' life absolute misery, because the only way that you're really gonna bring the balance of the championship back to you for double points is if one or both of you finish ahead of Jake Wells.
Yeah. You almost have to wonder if they can work. Well, I don't want to see them teaming up, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, dude, how do we get ahead of this guy and then hold him at bay so that we can, have this? So
let's talk about raw pace right now. I'm talking straight line pace relative to the rest of the field. Anderson, Wells, Booth in the speed trap, 262, 262, 261. Fastest car in the speed trap, Tobias Gable, 265 in the Audi. So I don't know what setup Tobias is bringing to Indianapolis, but that thing is slippery in a straight line. They're going to have to pay attention.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but Tobias sitting at P5 right now, and look at the times in the top 5.
400s back from P3, though.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but it's like, that's what I'm saying. They're so tight. You've got 3 drivers, Foose, Anderson, and Gable, all in that same 1/10 of a second gap. This is going to get crazy.
Yeah. I'm stoked.
I think it's going to be great.
Tobias Gable has got this car set up to be super slippery in a straight line. Just watching him out on track right now. I'm gonna switch over real quick. I want to take a look at his times relative to it does look like
Charlie Booth right now running about a 10th up, flexing between 1 and 2 tenths, and Charlie Booth takes pole position from Jake Wells. Wells heading back out on track with 9.5 minutes left to go. So Tom Foose getting into the top 3 now. Putting a BMW up there, knocking the McLaren of Anderson outside that top 3.
Got yourself a Prime subscriber and channel. Is that how do you pronounce that?
Oh, that's Alex. That's Alex Martin right there.
But how do you pronounce that name though? Is it
I don't know, because it's some weird weeb stuff, and we don't, and it's some weird weeb stuff. We don't talk about it.
We don't talk. Okay.
Go look at his name. Go look at his name on the Discord. You'll understand why we don't talk about it. Guess who? Guess who? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Just call him Alex.
Yeah, I'm
Get this.
bad.
I don't know. When did we learn this? Was it last week or the week? I think it was the week before when you weren't here. Alex Martin's name, his wife's name. Now his name is Alex Martin.
Yeah.
His wife's name is Alexa.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Alex Martin.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I'm saying. It's a little scary. Alex, a good guy though.
It means low life in Japanese. So, you know.
He is an
what is that?
iRacer,
What is that? What is that Maya Angelou quote? When they tell you who they are, the first time, believe them.
Yeah, believe them. Right. So Charlie Booth now sitting up on the pole position with a 134.832.
I want to see a 34.5. I want to see a 5. Man, let's talk about sector times. Mm-hmm. The margins between Booth and Wells right now. Probably I would say about a tenth. Like a tenth, a half a tenth between sectors 2 and 3. That's really given the swing for Booth right now.
Wow. Take a look at Paul Morris in the Porsche, because in the 219 car, he was up about 4 tenths on his fastest. Now has dropped it off. Does get ahead of Kornikov with that lap. Only bought himself about a tenth, though. Now, we talked about Rob Keysar a little bit. Switch this back to car numbers. Right now, Rob Keysar struggling in the 992 Porsche.
Yeah.
Sitting in 4th in class.
Porsche's going to be tough around here. Retro was talking about it before. The cold temps and rear engine makeup of the car. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough. And here's the thing. We're dealing with temperatures that are 5 degrees warmer than what Am and Pro-Am had in their race.
Well, right now I'm showing a track temp of 22 degrees Celsius. That's about.
I'm talking about a 5 degree ambient temperature.
Yeah.
difference,
Okay.
which will
Gotcha.
affect your tire pressures.
Yep.
That right there is if the Porsches are already struggling at 18, I cannot imagine how tough it's going to be for them if we get to race and it's 13 degrees.
Yeah. He started looking to make it work. However, again, Kornikov, Willie, and Glendinning all ahead of him. Now, really, he's just got to worry. Well, again, for Keysar this week, he's really got to place as high as he can. But if you look at who's ahead of him, Glendinning and Willie right now, Kornikov as well, he really doesn't have to worry about that. Willie right now sitting in P14 in the standings. Kornikov P10. Glendinning's running away with this. He's 219 points to Keysar's 152. So if I'm Keysar, I'm not worried about catching Glendinning. I'm looking to finish ahead, possibly of Willie. He just got pushed by Tiabuk as well. But again, Nikolai Tiabuk currently sitting in 7th. If I'm Keysar, obviously I want to place as high in class as possible. But my main competition isn't here this week. Except for Mike Burkhoff is right there. They're actually tied for points. So he's got to beat Burkhoff. As long as he can beat Burkhoff, Walrath is going to fall off due to not being here this week. So Kesar, if he can hold on, he can get himself into a podium going into the last race.
Yeah. Rickard's not here as well. So that could be even more of an opportunity for Kesar.
That's true. Yeah. Lewis Ricard not here.
He's gotta deal with Burkhoff though. And they're close.
If he
they're
can leave
right next to each other.
I would leave Glendinning alone. I would not worry about Glendinning. I would want to get myself ahead of Willie, Kornikov, and Seabrook, right? He obviously has pace on those three guys. He's leading him out this season. But Retro Coffin in the chat says Kesar doesn't like Indy. So
he's a Porsche driver. Why would he like Indy? It's a horrible track for the Porsche. It's a horrible track for the Porsche in fast sprint races. It's a horrible track for the Porsche in endurance racing here. It's just not good.
So how is the Porsche at Bathurst?
Better.
Better? Okay.
It'll be better. I think that the instability that you could experience with the Porsche around a track like Indianapolis, you do not have nearly that much trouble with Bathurst. Because Bathurst is tough for everyone across the board. It's a little bit more equalized. You're going to be dealing with cars that are going to struggle with their suspension problems. Mainly the Ferrari, Lamborghini, those kinds are going to be tough.
Okay.
Well, Retro just doesn't like Bathurst. I think Retro just doesn't like Bathurst as much as he doesn't like Watkins. But I could be wrong. Indy is a track that I feel like is a good track for racers. I feel like if you're a good like a real like street fighter kind of racer, like you're gonna be elbows out and want to really fight people corner after corner, Indianapolis is a fantastic track. Bathurst is a fantastic track for that too. I just feel like with the lack of experience that people get around at Indy, I feel like it's a little bit better. 400s per second between Booth and Wells.
Yeah, and Wells was showing purple just a moment ago in the previous sector, but so far not able to hold on to it. So I don't know that we're going to see him catch up. It's going to be a race into T1, that is for sure.
I love road circuits that have walls, though. I love road circuits that have walls.
You talking about like Bathurst? Tight end,
Bathurst, yeah.
Like those tight end walls.
You want me to tell you, the track that I would love to have in a game like ACC that we will never see, unfortunately. I would love to see Belle Isle, the Detroit GP. I would love to see it.
Okay.
You want to talk about think of a track that is just as bumpy as like a Sebring, but with walls. Like it is. You're white knuckling the entire lap.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, but that's Bathurst too. I mean, other than the opens, the back straight, you do get a break. Yeah. You're right. You get a break. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, once you're on the mountain, boy, it is on. It's on like Donkey Kong, and let's go because.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the thing, though. Like you talk about the close tight nature and the walls of Bathurst, and then you basically that's just like the mountain section. That's just a lap of Belle Isle.
Yeah.
There's less elevation change, but that's just a lap of Belle Isle.
Gotcha. Okay.
It is so harrowing. I love it. It's probably my favorite track in iRacing. So.
Wow. I was waiting to see if Anderson was going to step up a little bit here and get back ahead of Tom Boos.
Retro Coffin in there with the Mid-Ohio troll. Nobody wants Mid-Ohio in any game or any sport. But the thing is interesting. So here's the thing about Mid-Ohio. Mid-Ohio, like Indianapolis or like Snetterton, it's one of those tracks that people don't really get a lot of racing experience on. It is really tough. It has some of the most technical bits in an American road circuit, bar none. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real tough track. But there is, I can guarantee you release not Belle Isle, but Mid-Ohio for ACC, and there's no one on this grid that's going to want to race it.
You know, Retro talking about all these tracks makes me think he should be racing iRacing with us, shouldn't he?
The more the merrier, man.
I don't see him over there, but
The more the merrier. And for the people that are like, it's too expensive, like, wait till Rensport comes out.
Well, not just that, but let me ask you this question. This is the comparison I make because I'm also someone who enjoys things like train simulator, flight simulator, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Could you, in real life, and that's what's good about ACC as well, and of course their pricing model is a little different. You know, you buy the DLCs and you're done. Could you go out and race a Formula V, an MX-5, an IndyCar, a dirt truck, a NASCAR car? Could you do those things for less than, say, I don't know, $1,000?
Yeah.
In real life? No. In real life, could you go drive all those vehicles on the same day in real life for $1,000? There's no way, right? Like, just the insurance cost is going to push you over that. You can do it in iRacing. That's what I like about it, is I can find the niche that I enjoy. I can find the cars that I enjoy. I can find the type of racing I enjoy.
I gotta get you into the radicals. I think you'll enjoy the radicals. We gotta get you set up with.
We could try the radicals. I'd be down for the radicals.
Your quali time's over, and it looks like Charlie Booth done sealed the deal.
Yes, he did.
Anthony Anderson, not really looking like he's up.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what the other thing I was going to say a few minutes ago before we started talking about this. So Anderson in the standings is in third, 207 points. Tom Foose, who beat him out in qual today, with 188 points. Yeah. So less than 20 points separating these guys. Okay. Anderson needs to step it up going into this race to try and keep ahead of Tom Foose and finish out with a podium today. I feel.
I think if I'm Anthony Anderson, my one goal, forget everyone else on track, finish ahead of Jake Wells. Finish ahead of Jake Wells.
Okay. Yeah.
You want to keep your chances alive to win this series. He's close to Booth, no question. He wants to make it to where a double points finish in a Bathurst where there's a little bit of drama on track and some shenanigans. Finish ahead of Wells today.
Yeah.
Don't do that, and you've got you're climbing up a smooth rock wall to try and see if you can do anything to make this championship memorable for you. Booth has already kind of like put his stamp on getting ready for the last round. He put it on pole. He's going to start alongside Jake Wells. I can't remember from the last race. I would need to go back and check the replay. I'm kind of curious who's got the inside line into that 90-degree right-hander. But Booth has got to do one thing. He's got to get through T1 ahead of Jake Wells and control the pace of this race if he wants to make it a real banger of an ending in Bathurst, for sure.
Gotcha. Looking at this, it's curious because Wells finished in fourth last week, Charlie Booth in third. Tom Foose has finished first 3 times in a row. Yeah.
Foose is a weapon right now.
He is. What's killing him is round 1 was a no-show. Round 2 was P13. Yeah. If not for those types of finishes, Foose would be leading this. So Wells has really got to hold on. If Wells wants to maintain this championship, he's got to win today. And he's got to hope that something happens next week to Charlie Booth and Anthony Anderson, because the point standings are not far enough apart. The double points are going to line them up. It's going to be brutal.
I'm not too big a man to not be a tease, but think about this. Like, Tom Foose bringing home a win at Indy for the final round. Think about the finishing order of Jake Wells, Charlie Booth, Anthony Anderson in relation to Tom Foose potentially coming home with a win. Think about that going into a double points finish. Think about Tobias Gable, who we already know around here has the fastest car in a straight line. We've got the longest pit stop probably this season. I'm really interested to see how this stuff shakes out. We've got a real opportunity here. Now, relative pace for the entire race, it's going to be tough for Tobias. It's going to be tough for Tom to stay out in front of Wells and Booth, because they are setting some really fast lap times around here. But if they can pull it off, man, think about that double points finale. You want to talk about red meat? There's your red meat.
Yeah, this is going to get fun. But Blue makes a great point in the chat. They got to stay out of each other's way going into T1. Actually, I would say all of lap 1. I mean, look, we got 45 minutes of racing here. You're not winning it in T1. You're not winning it on lap 1. Stay clean, fight your battles throughout the rest of this. And that's where it gets scary, is what we've seen is it may not even be T1, but it's more lap 1 where folks are trying to jockey for that position. And hopefully today, a smaller grid, right? We're down to 15 drivers, split about half and half as you look at your screen there, about half and half between pro and silver. Everybody needs to calm down for a few minutes. TG in the chat, they got to get out of my way towards T1.
I'm telling you.
TG's going to light him up. He's going to bring the heat.
He's bringing that German missile into turn 1. All right, so T1, 90-degree right-hander. You got another kind of a 90-degree left-hander in turn 2 before we set up for turns 3, 4, and 5. And then you got a hairpin at 6. Right-hander turn 7 before you hit that back straight. That right there, those sequence of corners, is going to set the stage for what we're going to experience in this first stint. Now, you got that mandatory pit stop, fuel and tires. If they're splitting the race up, they're looking at what? Math. Why can I not math today? I'm ridiculous. Like 27 and a half? You got like 27 and a half, 27 and a half. But it's going to be interesting to see. Well, not 27 and a half, 27 and a half. Don't worry about me, guys. I can't do the math on a 45-minute race either. I wish they'd do 40 minutes so I could figure it out. I can't do it. It's fine. But the big thing is that getting set for that first stint, trying to get through turn 7, keeping your car out in front, trying to avoid all the chaos that's probably going to unfold in turn 1. Because I'm telling you, turn 1, turn 2 is going to be like everybody at home, everybody watching, find something to hold on to, something to bite down on if you have to, because it's going to be a rough sequence of corners.
Here we go. Well, leading us out today, Charlie Booth quals first, going to be in P1. Share row 1 with Jake Wells. Anthony Anderson and Tom Foose side by side in row 2. Tobias Gable, Paul Morris having a good qual in row 3. Jarrett Skinner, Adam Willie in row 4. Timothy Glendening, Igor Kornikov, row 5. Nikolai Tsiabuk, Rob Kesar in row 6. Mike Burkhoff, Rydian Lloyd Davis in row 7. And Matt Comiskey bringing up the rear by himself in P15. Unlike our AM and Pro-Am race, you see there's really a definitive line here between the Pro and the Silver drivers. So that's not every week. I'll be curious to see how this pans out throughout the race as our drivers go into double file. Get ready for the start of this race and the green flag drop. Down that long straight into T1. We are here for 45 minutes of racing. Now, to your point earlier, Phil, temperatures have held. 18 degrees ambient, 22 on track. Yep. So maybe a little bit easier on the tires than we saw it for the Pro and the for the AM and Pro-Am guys.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit easier on Pro and Silver split. Cold temperatures are still going to be tough. Again, you're not going to be in your pressure windows when you go into turn 1.
Yeah.
You got Charlie Booth on the dirty side of the track with Tom Foose right behind him. That is going to be tricky as well as we go green.
We're going green. Let's hit it. Tobias Gable looking for his whole shot right up the middle.
Look at this. Is he going to send it?
Oh my goodness. How far is he going to send it?
Into turn 1.
And
wow.
Look at Tobias Gable just breaking out up here. A little bit of contact between these guys, but he is holding on. Maybe a door bag. Tobias Gable just hammers down into T1. And is going to take the lead of this race. Can he get ahead of Charlie Booth?
So just saw a bit of a shunt between Tom Foose. Didn't see who it was that got sent off.
Maybe Anderson, given them showing contact between the two of them.
Now, where is Anderson at now?
Tobias Gable looking for an inside shot. Charlie Booth holding him at bay. Wow. Gets a nudge. Oh, we got
sideways.
We got a lot of sliding right there in the grass. There it is. Charlie Booth pulls ahead. But Tobias Gable gets himself up into second place just like that. with Anthony Anderson now right behind him. Wow. That's how you start a race. I mean, listen, did we have incidents? Yeah, we had incidents, but I'll tell you what, I'll take a little bit of door banging between these guys and hard racing as Anderson shoots around Gable on the inside. I will take a little bit of door banging where everybody survives over a complete catastrophe any day of the week.
Tobias is off on the grass. That's going to slow him down. Now, Jake Wells is having a shocking start. He is down to 5th.
Wow, yeah, and now Gable losing spots back to 4th. I mean, I wondered if he was going to be able to hold it. We know the pace of these guys up front, and I wondered if Tobias was going to be able to hold it. He wasn't quite able to do so, but Jake Wells right there behind him.
Look at the straight line speed of this Audi. Just like
diving
long stepping every straight.
Able to get himself back ahead of Tom Foose as Foose gives him a little bit of a nudge to let him know he's still there. But to your point, he's got the straight line speed, but you see once we get deep into these corners, he's not able to hold on.
Well, I'm telling you, up to turn 7, like Tobias is really in a vulnerable spot. Now, if he can stay in front of you, once he gets to turn 7, hits that back straight.
Ooh. Hold on, sorry. Looks like Jake Wells. Nope, Jake Wells made it. Adam Willie with contact. Let's get back to Willie and roll that back real quick, see if we can catch it. Yeah, getting a push there. A shunt and dropping a bunch of positions after having caught up Paul Morris a little bit tangled up in that.
I think Paul Morris let him back around.
Wow. Garrett Skinner now getting ahead of Timothy Glendenning.
So Charlie Booth, Anthony Anderson have to be licking their chops at the fact that they're sitting P1, P2 relative to Jake Wells and P5. Jake Wells, got to put the hammer down, son. You want to protect that lead going into the final round, double points. You got to do it.
Yep.
You got to do it. You got to put your foot through the floorboard. Just ask yourself, are you pushing the pedal hard enough?
What we do see here, though, is Tom Foose able to get ahead of Tobias Gable. I think Gable back far enough. Well, maybe not. He's kind of tightening back down. We'll see if that Audi, if he's able to throw that Audi up the inside again. A little bit of a gap there this time. Yeah.
I think it's a little too far.
But a great run from Gable overall. Like, I mean, holy
that
cow. Start
wow.
was unbelievable. So Walrath, with the points the way they are, is it still possible for me to get a podium for the season? Well, I got to tell you, man, I don't have the point standings. I mean, I have the standings in front of me. With you not on track today, I mean, Glendenning's going to extend his lead. Okay, but right now, Kornikoff and Seabrook running in 2nd and 3rd in the silver class, respectively. Really, it's going to depend on what Rob Keesar can do. Keesar right now, not his race. Currently sitting in 5th in class.
So here's what I'll say.
And still more
Brandon,
collisions here.
Brandon, I think it's possible. Burkhoff has dropped down to 12th relative to the field.
Rob Keesar, you're not going to catch him back.
Yeah, you're not going to catch Glendenning. But Keesar and Burkhoff both sliding pretty far down the field, which is going to give Kornikov, Seabrook, and Willie some points. For the double points finish at Bathurst, it is still to play for because you have a 15-point buffer right now between yourself and Keesar. And Keesar is actually finishing behind Burkhoff right now, so it'll actually even make things a little bit more tricky for Keesar going in the final round.
Yeah.
So it is not out of possibility for you to potentially finish with that 3rd spot in the race. Well, actually, you guys, the 4 of you, Rickard, yourself, Keesar, and Burkhoff, could be duking it out for 2nd. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think Walrus still has plenty of opportunity here, even missing today's race. It's all going to come down to how Bathurst plays out. I think the points are too close to call that out. So.
Retro saying it looks like Gable ran out of talent.
I wouldn't say that. Look, he's up a spot on the day. He's holding Jake Wells at bay right now. Wells is not closing this gap so far. I'd say Gable's doing just fine.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually hop over to going to switch back over to the commentary box, and then I'm going to go over to other PC and see if I can take a look at Wells and figure out what's the story. Is he dealing with damage? Why could he not find his...
Tobias Gable right now, I think, doing a fine job. Again, keeping Jake Wells at bay. Jake Wells, the current series leader. If Tobias can hold on to this, I think even with Foose ahead of him, yeah, I don't know that he's going to move up because we're looking at you know, the people he needs to beat still ahead of him, being Foose, Anderson, and Booth. So maybe not gaining a spot, but if he can at least hold his own right here against Wells, this is really going to put Jake Wells in a spot to have to deal with Charlie Booth next week in some fashion with the double points. Rob Keesar, Brady and Lloyd Davis now coming together. Keesar having dropped back. Davis going to look for the inside shot. Grabs it up, and Rob Keesar now finds himself running at the back of the pack in that 992 Porsche.
I think I understand what might have happened with Skinner. Came together with Tom Foose early on.
Okay.
But Wells has a little bit of rear end damage. I'm trying to figure out where it came from. He did. Maybe it's from the contact with another one of the McLarens.
You think that door banging we saw going down into T1 and through T2 would have been enough to do that?
No, this was the back straight on lap 2.
Okay.
Where those two came together. Wells was one of the ones that was kind of not shunted out. He was forced out onto the grass and then started to lose traction and come back across traffic, but only had what looked like minor contact with one of the McLarens. I'm going to see if I can try and figure out who it was that he had contact with, but I believe he might have gotten rear end damage from that. Yeah, that's where he got his rear end damage from. Let me see if I can figure out who it was that had contact.
Tom Foose so far for this race holding on to purple by about 0.3 of a second, so we're going to see if he's able to close up. Now Jake Wells is going to look to make an attack on Tobias Gable.
Looks like it was Anderson that he had contact with. So
really?
He lost he got forced out onto the grass, started to lose the back end, came back across traffic out in front of Anderson. They touched nose to tail, and so Anderson's got a little bit of front end damage from the contact with Wells, but Wells, more importantly, has rear splitter damage, it looks like, with the with that contact.
Huh.
That might be what we're looking at.
Well, Gable's certainly holding his own still. You know, Wells had started to close this gap up. Looked like he was going to get ready to start making a play, but now has pulled back. So as he come around again, we're going to see if Gable can hit that straight and just open, you know, keep the gap open. If he can keep Wells in his tail through the corners, through the more technical section of the track, we've seen what the straight line speed of the Audi is here at Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So right here, you know, coming down the start, finish straight, Gable really ought to be able to just open it up. I think the only time that's not going to happen is if Wells gets close enough to suck up that draft, right? Then maybe he can't open it up the way he wants to.
Yeah, trying to get to the draft is going to be pretty important for Wells. I'm going to take a look real quick. I just want to see like the stint information between Wells and Tobias right now. Average speed from Tobias 36.2, and we're looking at a 36.4 for Jake Wells. So Jake Wells has lost some pace in the number 84. Now I want to take a look relative to the top 5, how everybody's doing relative to Mr. Charlie Booth. So Booth, last lap was a 35.3. Pretty quick.
Now, I don't know what yours is showing you, but my speed trap is telling me that Tobias Gable's still hitting, going down into T1, coming off the straight, still maxing out 262 kilometers per hour. Now there are, you know, Booth, Anderson both hitting 261, Wells hitting 261 along with Timothy Glendenning, but that Audi is still outpacing in the speed trap pretty hard.
I mean, for the single lap fastest through the speed trap, Jake Wells was pumped in a 267.
Really? Okay.
But 266 has been Tobias, and Tobias has been the more consistent over this first stint in terms of being quick in the speed trap, being around 265. So again, Tobias is really the Audi is slippery.
Yeah,
in straight
absolutely.
line. I'm still waiting to find out what Booth's average is. 35.714 for Anderson on the average. 35.4, there it is. So Booth really does have some pace in hand relative to the field.
That gap opened up to about 3 seconds ahead of behind Charlie Booth now. Anderson not able to keep up, but keeping an eye up there. Tom Foose closing in slowly. Right now, Paul Morris under attack by Adam Willie and Mike Burkhoff.
Anderson, I don't know if he's starting to experience a little bit of a pace drop-off. 36.6 last lap for Anderson. Tom Foose is really starting to catch up, as is Tobias Gable and Jake Wells. Somebody else who's pretty quick right now, who's starting to catch up the field, is Skinner. 35.925 last lap for him.
Oh, yep.
Still a little ways before we hit that pit window.
Paul Morris trying to keep it down against Willie and Burkhoff. So far, doing well.
So Willie's going to want to try and hang out in front of Burkhoff as long as he can.
So far, though, you got to admit, Morris making that Porsche very wide.
Yeah.
Not really giving Willie any kind of opportunity. And again, if I'm Morris, I'm concerned, am I going to lose one spot or two? Because as if the door gets flung open for one, is it going to be wide enough for both of them to sneak through? Oh, and there it goes right there. Morris backing it off and leaving the outside open. Willie and Burkhoff both shoot around. Just that quick, but Boos still not closing the gap up to Anderson. Anderson about a 1 second lead there. Tobias Gable continues to keep Jake Wells at bay. I gotta wonder how much damage Wells has, because we know he's got pace.
Telling you.
Yeah,
this right here is setting up for a hell of a finale. Because you've got Booth, Anderson, Foose, Gable, basically all. Unless I'm mistaken, that is your pro category. Booth, Anderson, Foose, Gable, but Jake Wells is fifth. So that brings suddenly the top five all within
a few
championship contention.
Oh yeah,
for the last race.
Absolutely. We're going to go into next week with it a toss-up. I mean, unless something crazy happens in the next 30 minutes, we are going to go into next week's race, double points at Bathurst, with at least 5 drivers in contention.
Yeah, that is a big moment. Although, again, we've still got pit stops. We got pit stops in play. We've got traffic is going to be a factor. I'm interested to see how Wells navigates it. Wells, historically, this season has been leaving a lot of time on the table. I'm hoping he had an opportunity to get some practice time in before the session to really nail down those pit stops and not leave time on the table like he's done in the previous rounds.
Yeah.
Because if he can jump one or two of these guys in the pits, he's making it a little bit tougher for that finale. And if I'm Wells right now, I'm not even thinking about the win. I'm thinking about Tobias Gable. How do I get in front of him? If I get in front of Tobias Gable, I'm thinking of Tom Foose. How do I get in front of him? If I get in front of Tom Foose, Anthony Anderson. How do I get in front of him? It's like you got to climb the ladder one rung at a time. So figure it out.
Right now, though, Wells applying pressure to Gable. We knew this was going to come to a head at some point. Wells with damage. And that's going to be the other part of this. If Gable doesn't feel like he needs to repair any damage in the pits, and Wells does, that's adding time right there.
No. If I'm Wells, I don't take repairs.
No
way. Not with this pit stop. With this long pit stop taking repairs, he's going to lose, I don't know, 2-3 spots.
He's looking to the inside, just not enough there on that Audi. Oh, yeah. But Gable
the
dives
Audi
hard.
goes.
Whoa. Gable going deep.
But here's the thing, though. Wells is going to be the better car in aerodynamically going into turns 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So, and Wells has got it.
Able to
like
pull
historically, turn 2, turn 3 for Tobias Gable has been the Achilles heel of his setup so far. And Wells just shows us that's the case. Yep. So now Tobias Gable got to try and hang out in front of Jared Skinner. You could see Tobias trying to. Wow! Did they just come together? I have no.
No. I don't think so. Hold on. Let's back that up. I don't believe so. Gable coming across. I can't tell. Did Gable have a problem? He came back across the track. It does show contact for Wells.
He was just trying to take the straightest line possible. But the thing is, though, is that you can't run into a car that's right in front of you like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just going to go back and take a look.
I'll let you rewind that and throw that around. And Ryan Normal in the chat says netcode maybe, because that does not seem on an open straightaway like something we would see from Gable. And now Gable diving into the pits after that. So Gable going to take a pit stop outside the window.
I am really curious what happened there.
I wonder if he is giving up this, or maybe did the pit window open?
Pit window might be open.
Oh yeah, it should be about 30 seconds. So Gable, Glendenning, Jake Wells, Nikolai Tsiabuk, Mike Burkhoff, Paul Morris, all into the pits. Charlie Booth continues to lead this race. Anthony Anderson in second. Tom Foose sitting in third. That will be one for the stewards this week. Very interesting. That's very, very curious.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Because I mean, look, we'll let the stewards hash it out, but we got to admit, you have to admit, if you've been watching Box 3 long enough, if you've been around the league, Tobias Gable is not the kind of driver that's going to make a mistake like that on a flat-out straight. That's not to say Gable never makes mistakes. It's to say on a flat-out straight like that, it's not something you're going to see too often. So I'd be very curious to see how that winds up when it comes to the stewarding reports. And Phil's going through it right now. I can see him intensely studying over to my right here, trying to get the right camera angle to see what might have happened there. As Charlie Booth continues to lead, Anthony Anderson in second, Tom Foose still running in third. Now, we talked about pit stops and how important they can be. You know, Anderson with only a 1.3 second gap back to Foose. So pretending that gap stays, 1.3, 1.5 seconds around the laps during this pit window. We saw 3 to 4 second gaps in the pit stops during the, and I forgot to turn on the pit stop count. Oh, that's terrible. Hopefully that counts. We saw 3 and 4 second gaps between drivers with pit stops during the AM and Pro-Am race. That 3 second gap is all it's going to take for Anderson to lose P2 to Tom Foose. So hopefully he's able to get that locked down and get his pit stop done as quickly as possible.
I mean, they came together. Like, it's clear.
Did they? Okay.
They came together, but I'm just trying to figure out how the draft would have pulled Tobias in that fast if that's what happened.
Yeah.
Or if Jake lifted. What? Like, I'm just so confused because it's just such an awkward moment.
Huh.
He managed to keep it out of the wall. Like, after the contact, he managed to keep it out of the wall somehow. Now his tires are completely trash.
And he has decided to stay out. No, Jake Wells has cleared pit stop, so he's done.
Yeah.
Charlie Booth now heading into the pits. The Thunder from down under. He continues to lead this race. Anderson will take up P1 with Tom Foose. Again, that 1.3 second gap is where it's going to get very, very interesting as these pit stops roll through for Anderson and Foose.
Yeah, it's just like we're gonna have to let the stewards take a look at that. It's just awkward all around. That's gonna be taking a look at inputs, taking a look at everything.
Yeah.
Because that, like, I've never seen a collision like that on a straight.
Hey, stewards are gonna earn their money this week, which the pay is 0, but you know, still they're gonna earn it.
Yeah. that was something else.
That really was strange because again, you know, from the camera angles, we're looking from in front of both drivers. You can't see between them. I'm not gonna take eyes off the race long enough to spin through. And that's what I'm saying. I knew you would be. Yeah. So
it was just awkward. Like the speed at which Tobias was closing in on the McLaren, like, was just unreal.
Wow.
And it was they just like came together. And like I said, I don't understand. I can't superimpose like both inputs at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
And to your point, I'd be curious, did Wells lift a little bit for some reason? Again, carrying damage. Was he trying to back it down?
I don't know.
Anything like that. We'd have to see those inputs and see what happened there.
Not sure. It could have been that he was braking for his normal braking marker and stuff like that. And then just because of the draft and stuff like that, Tobias was just too close.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not a steward here, but like, I'm a firm believer in the philosophy of don't hit what's in front of you. Like, under any circumstances, don't hit what's in front of you. Like, I don't buy when people are like, oh, but I didn't expect you to brake that early. Like, no, that's still your fault.
That. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That's still your fault.
Listen, I account it to, or I relate it to real world driving. If I rear end someone, 99% of the time, I'm going to be at fault. Full stop. Like, there's no, because you didn't have control of your vehicle, right? And so I agree with you on that. Matt Comiskey holds on to P5 right now. Still needs to go into the pits, but Brittany Lloyd Davis was applying pressure there for a few moments.
So I'm going to try and get stuck back into the statistics of this because I kind of want to see how things are playing out with the pit stops the way that they are. Because now we're going to have plenty of data because we got a bunch of people dive in for pit stops while I was just staring at replays. Let's take a look at Tom Foose. Tom Foose in the pit stop right now.
So Foose in the pits. Now, we were talking about this while you were reviewing that incident. You know, Anderson with only about a 1.3 second gap back to Foose. If Anderson doesn't hit his pit just right, he's giving up P2 to Tom Foose. 100%.
Yeah. And Foose right now, rolling down pit straight as Gable comes around the final corner. So Gable's got no shot at closing in on Foose.
Okay.
But let's look at Anderson now. So Anderson is yet to pit. He's lapping at 35.7. Like Foose is lapping at 35.7. It's so close between these two in terms of pace. It's unreal. Tobias Gable moving through some traffic now.
Yep, and gets ahead of Jarrett Skinner.
So Anderson's in the pits.
Yep, Anderson heading in. Comiskey and Lloyd Davis, the only two left on track not to take one yet. But Tobias Gable, going to see if he can keep Skinner behind him now.
So Booth right now, it looks like he is headed into, let's look, going into turn 11. So getting ready to go. Getting ready to go into the final complex. It looks like Anderson's still on the jacks. He's dropped off. He's rolling down pit road now. Booth just now hitting the final corner. Yeah, I don't think Anderson's got it.
Yeah, Anderson's still rolling slow and waiting to see it. There goes Charlie Booth flying by right there. So Charlie Booth will be heading back for P1.
Tom Foose is going to be in this for P2.
Oh, yeah, he is. And that's what we talked about. Now, I'll be curious to see. No. Oh, Anderson out ahead of Foose, just barely.
Yeah.
And now a 1 second gap. We said if Anderson didn't pull that pit stop off just right. Looks like he was able to. So now just waiting on Riddian Lloyd Davis to hit the pits. And the pit window's going to close awful soon.
Tom Foose,
And a
a
penalty.
29.8 in the pits. 1 minute 29.8 in the pits. That
Okay.
is blistering.
Wow.
33.2 for Anderson. That is donkey's years in the pits.
And this is why we see now Tom Foose only 0.4 of a second back off on the back end of Anderson. As William Lloyd Davis heads now into the pits, and we will get the order straightened back out here.
That was just so much time left on the table by Anderson. 33.2.
I'm surprised Foose didn't get out ahead of him as he came out of the pits, given that gap.
I mean, what it was all that gap that Anderson had in the overcut. It was the exact same problem we ran into with Justin Suckham in the first race, right? He had so much time to gain in the overcut because he wasn't in traffic, and then just pitches all the gains out the window when the car goes up on jacks. Like it's interesting. Like I don't know if he had damage checked. I don't know what, but there was just enough to really compromise what gap he had.
Yeah.
And it's a half second between these two right now. With the cars that have been with the two manufacturers that have been fighting at the front end of just about every class in this season, the M4 and the Maka. It's the optimal pit stop right here. Well, I mean, in terms of time, 29.8's the time to beat. 29.8's the fastest I've seen. I'm going to go through all the times for you, Retro, because I'm a nerd. Yeah.
So Lloyd Davis heads into the pits, the last one to clear. Now, he was in the pits before the pit window closed. He's safe, right? Even though it was announced while he was still in there that the window was closed?
Yeah, he's cleared.
Okay.
Yeah, he's cleared.
Very good. So Tom Foose in third. Tobias Gable now in fourth. Jake Wells currently in eighth. We'll see if he's able to make up any time during the remainder of this race. Only 16 and a half minutes left to go.
I mean, relative to Skinner, like there's not a lot lost between Wells if he doesn't finish in front of Skinner. It's just the fact that finishing order is going to make the finale.
Oh, just insane.
It's going to be for my Italian friends. It's going to have some arrabbiata.
So far, Anderson able to hold his own against Foose.
Let's talk about pace, right?
Okay.
For this entire race, man. Charlie Booth, first stint, 35.446, average lap time.
Okay.
Anthony Anderson, 35.7.
Wow.
Booth has just got control of the pace right now.
Wow.
So he had a pretty lackluster pit stop, but lucky for him, Anthony Anderson had a shocking pit stop and left 3 seconds relative to him on the table. I'm thinking he had to have taken repairs. He had to have taken repairs.
Yeah.
There's no way he gave up 4 seconds relative to the field in the pits. Just on a oops.
Which again, I'm surprised because if I only have a second and a half gap and it's drivable, I'm not taking repairs. Right?
No,
I'm not touching the car. No, in and out. Let's go. I got things to do. And so I'm kind of surprised that gap is so huge. I mean, who knows? Unless he missed the pit box, something that really screwed him up there. But now he's going to have to contend with Tom Foose now for the remainder of this race. As Foose tightening up real tight on the back end of that car.
Yep. Average lap time 35.6 now for Foose. So if you look at Anderson's relative pace in stint 1, and he's matching his stint 1 pace.
Okay.
Foose is the quicker car. Like Foose is a threat right now for Anderson. So Anderson's going to have to do a little bit of reprogramming going into the second stint. Like the first stint was got to get in front of Jake Wells, got to get in front of Jake Wells. Well, that job's done. Now it's very much Now it's very much like gotta stay out in front of Tom Foose, stay out in front of Tom Foose.
Hold Foose back, right? It's those extra points that are gonna, again, like you said, we're gonna go into next week with.
It's gonna be a banger.
They're gonna be all within 10 points of each other. It's gonna be crazy. This pro series, this pro split, and how well these guys are, or how tight these guys are.
For any of those folks at home that really like watching those weird series on Discovery Channel about like most deadliest things in Australia kind of thing.
Bathurst next week.
You got 5 of the deadliest critters in this grid getting ready to fight for a championship win.
Yeah, Blue Wolf in chat saying had 20 seconds of damage and did not make any repairs. So
yeah, you just can't take it around here, especially with how long the pit stop is.
Yeah.
I mean, adding 20 seconds to a pit stop that's a minute and a half, like, forget about it. 35.597 now average lap time for Anthony Anderson. He is starting to put his foot down because he's getting encouraged to move a little bit quicker. There's a little suggestion
Mr.
in the rear
let
view
him
mirror.
know, if you don't put it down, I'm going to show you why you should have, sir.
Yeah, he's going to give him the wide sniffer if he doesn't really start to build a bit of a gap.
The thing is, with Foose's pace, I don't know that he can open a gap. I think this battle hangs until the end of this race. I think this pressure holds up until the end of this race.
And these guys actually like I don't know what Charlie's doing. Charlie may be looking at the fact he's got 12 minutes and thinking he can take a break.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend that he does not, because that gap has closed down between Anthony Anderson and Charlie Booth. And Charlie Booth does not want Anthony Anderson to get in the rear view, because you've got the quad snout of the M4 right behind. It's just like, you don't want this to go down to the wire like that. So if Charlie Booth is struggling for pace, if he got his pressures wrong or whatever, you need to figure it out.
And I'll tell you this, last lap, Charlie Booth with a 1:35.802, Anderson with a 1:35.272.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's half a second right there. And if that continues, we are going to see that nip down very quickly.
Yeah. It's going to be, it is definitely time for Charlie to get with the program, because there is a short but stocky hate train that's closing in. So yeah, looking at the rest of the field, most of the field is pretty spread out, with the exception of Paul Morris and Mike Burkhoff.
Yeah, Mike Burkhoff
at 8/10.
Nikolai Tsiabuk was able to get around Morris. It looks like Burkhoff pulling the same, so Paul Morris dropping a bit there to 2, although it doesn't affect him in standings. He's currently coming in last in the pro series, in the pro class. So Tsiabuk and Burkhoff able to get around is no big deal.
Skinner at 1.7 seconds behind Tobias Gable. I don't think there's really much of a threat right now, especially because that Ferrari is a quick car, but man, that Audi is so fast in a straight line around here, and you got 2 mega straights on Indianapolis. I think it's going to be tough for Skinner to close the gap down into Tobias Gable. Tobias Gable, 18 seconds back from Tom Foose, nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere near that. So it's really down to Anderson really trying to pick up the pace, trying to make sure that he can close the gap to Booth and maintain that gap between him and Anderson. Both of them right now are racing around so fast. Last lap, 35.250 Anderson, 35.360 Foose. Like, they are the fastest cars on track by a mile.
Pushing it. Charlie Booth with a 2.4. Charlie Booth with a 2.42 that last lap, just coming across.
Jeez,
Anderson just set the new fastest, a 1:35.042.
Man, we're almost in the 34s for race pace. Retro, are you breathing in chat? Are you catching?
Mr. Beatbox in chat. Meanwhile, I didn't know I had 10 second damage, and when I stopped at pit, I realized it was 40 seconds. That's not good. That's a long time to sit in the pits.
That's a killer. Man, I'm looking forward to Bathurst, and I'm gonna go ahead and make my prediction now.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction, Mr. Jake Wells, like a phoenix from the ashes, gonna really take it to the field at Bathurst. And why, you say? I've raced with that man at Bathurst. He knows what he's doing.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing Mr. Jake Wells Take it to the field for Bathurst. Take it to the mountain. I want to see it.
Just put his Twitch in the chat if anybody wants to watch him this week or next. I'm sure he'll be streaming it. Mr. I suck at this. Jake Wells. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna make 2 picks, if I may.
Yep, go for it.
Only because I think they both know Bathurst. I think they both can do well. And I think we're gonna see either Charlie Booth or Anthony Anderson finish on top of this.
It's such a good field. Such a good field. I cannot believe we're gonna have 5 people fighting.
I know.
For the Pro Cup.
This could be awesome.
In the finale. That is nuts. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like Anderson has cracked the Tom Foose code, because he's starting to build a little bit of a gap. Not getting too far out of touch, but 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, Anderson at this point just has to hold on, maintain this pace. He obviously knows he's got it locked. 135.2 his last, 295 his last lap. He's keeping it within a 10th or 2 of that fastest that he set, the 135.042. I think if he can continue to maintain that consistency, he's going to keep this gap against Foose. He's going to, this is going to toss things into just a shell game after everything is accounted for this week. Now, I think, we may see some changes around with the incident between Gable and Wells. Obviously, the stewards are going to have to account for that, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, you look at the rest of the pro category relative to the field. Like, any kind of adjustment is not going to give Wells places back.
No,
it's only gonna put Tobias a little bit out of reach. But since Wells has already lost so many positions in this race, Gable's not out of it. Yeah. So it's just interesting how it's going to be so tight down to the wire. And Retro's exactly right. This is like the IndyCar Pro finale, and we've even got an Australian in here fighting for the cup.
Not really. He's from New Zealand, but I just like to tell everybody he's from Australia because he gets offended by it. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some pretty sharp Kiwis in IndyCar.
Nikolai Tsiabuk now with Paul Morris. Yeah, Retro said Australia, New Zealand, it's the same. Whatever. Matt Comiskey taking up position over Mike Burkhoff as we watch the Paul Morris Nikolai Tsiabuk battle. Burkhoff takes it right back. Now Burkhoff with Comiskey and Davis both right there.
In theory, you could call Charlie Booth the Willpower or Scott Dixon of the the order, like depending on what country you want to affiliate him with.
He's definitely Australian. You ever talk to him, just say, "Good day, mate," and then watch him get upset. It's fine. He'll be all right. Little contact between Comiskey and Davis, but now Comiskey taking lead over Mike Burkhoff. Again, a little bit of action right here at the end of the race. Just about 5.5 minutes left to go. And now Davis getting ahead of Burkhoff.
I'm just looking at relative pace. 35.6 from Booth. 35.4 from Anderson. What has Anderson done after that pit stop? Did he throw out like an extra seat? Did he like, you know what, guys, during the pit stop, take out a seat? Like, is that where the 4 seconds went, Anthony? I want to know.
All I know is he's zoning.
They're getting out there with the Sawzall, and they're just like cutting parts of the car off to reduce weight.
Mr. Mark, you know what? I'll be honest with you. You're going to have to ask that of folks like, as Jake Wells now heads into the pits. Wow. Why? I wonder why.
Oh, I hope that's not race over.
I hope not. I mean, 4.5 minutes left to go, and still a position up on Paul Morris. So if he stays in the pits, he's going to drop points to Morris, but he is going up on the jacks. I don't know if that's automatic or not, if he's just has no, we'll see where he ends up as Charlie Booth continues to lead. Sorry. Yeah, maybe short on fuel, Retro said, possibly. As I was saying, Mr. Mark in chat, that's something you're going to ask folks like Blue, your boy Blue on the Discord, Huffmanic, and the league managers. I don't have information on how dropping the race works.
I guess the part that I'm kind of curious about is if you guys do a round drop, and you take lowest. So if you do a round drop with lowest, honestly, to be honest, if there's a drop round, this race doesn't hurt Jake Wells at all.
Yeah.
Like in terms of his advantage.
I've never understood dropping races personally, so.
Well, so what it does is it can keep the field more condensed. If you have a clear front runner that has like more than a race points buffer, the drop round just basically makes it to where, you know, they can just basically sit out around. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
But it will keep the field a little bit more compressed, and like I said, unless you've got somebody who's just straight up running away with it, in which case it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Jake Wells now back out on track though.
Might have been fuel.
Yeah.
Might have just miscalculated the fuel a bit. But yeah, so just looking right now for the positions, the points paying, I mean, that is a lot of points. That is what? Difference between 55 and 31 points. That's 24 points.
Yeah. Brilliant Led Davis taking up position over Matt Comiskey. Mike Burkhoff now heading into the pits. Same thing, possibly same thing. Maybe a fuel miscalculation as Burkhoff heads in. This late in the race, 2 minutes and 22 seconds left to go.
Yeah, if there's no drop round, I mean, Wells is still okay. But if there's a drop round, he's a little bit better off. But either way, it's going to be one hell of a race in the last round.
We got 2 more laps left to go.
Yep.
Anderson just set a 1:34.9 race lap. And he is now within 1.5 seconds of Charlie Booth. Are we getting a last lap run here? Is that what's going to happen?
I mean, I would keep the camera just completely pinned on Anthony Anderson. See what this man's doing out on track, because right now it seems like he's just got either like the game genie unlock or something, because that car is moving a little bit quicker than it was in the first stint by a lot. Maybe he got his pressures. Maybe he got his pressures like way off in the first stint, but he is really quick in a straight line now, like really fast. Let's actually take a look. I'm curious. He's still 262 in speed traps. He's not setting like blistering speed trap times. It's just his average lap time is just really quick now. He is losing a little bit of pace relative to Booth now. Booth putting his foot down a little bit. Booth could have just been managing. Yeah, Booth could have just been managing pace for all we know.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to win by 15 seconds. He can win by 2. You know, doesn't matter. So.
There it is. Charlie Booth has now started the final lap. Anthony Anderson about 2 seconds back.
Yeah.
Tom Foose currently running in 3rd. Tobias Gable in 4th. Jarrett Skinner sitting in 5th. And Jake Wells knocked back to 13th with a push from Tobias Gable. Supposed. Alleged.
Which is the sixth pro category.
Yep. Retro, there's a way to solve that, man. I can't do it for you. I'm sorry. Actually, I can. I mean, look, maybe we have to talk about it. I mean, I can drop like a 3-minute ad roll, right, at the end of qualifying for the race, and maybe that prevents any from happening. I don't know. I don't know how to stop them. I wish I did.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to necessarily sub to a whole bunch of channels, just take a look at picking up Twitch Turbo to get around the ads. But we're getting close to the wire here. Charlie Booth looks like he is just
holding on. Definitely holding on. Great race for him today. Let's take a look at the relatives just to see where folks picked up. Anderson up 1 spot today. Jarrett Skinner, I mean, the field stayed, other than Jake Wells, right? Other than Jake Wells, the field stayed pretty much where it started. Paul Morris down 2 spots. Igor Kornikov able to pick up 4, along with Ridley and Lloyd Davis, Matt Comiskey, and there Anderson. Oh my God, I thought that was Charlie Booth bouncing himself off the... I think he bounced himself off the wall. I really do.
He's just excited because he's going into the finale with the best shot of taking the championship home.
Yep.
Like it is going to be one heck of a finish. And of course, right as the race ends, my cat decides to hop on the table and start knocking stuff off.
Well, mine's still flopped on the floor, which means I'll forget here in 30 seconds or in 2 minutes when we're done, and I'll almost step on it and kill myself.
Maybe I should let him come into the frame. I mean, he's a 14-pound cat. He's like...
You absolutely should.
He's a monster.
Charlie Booth taking home the win. Anthony Anderson in second. Tom Foose in third. Tobias Gable fourth. Jarrett Skinner rounding out your top 5. Igor Kornikov in sixth. Good finish for him today. Timothy Glendenning in P7. Paul Morris still out running right now with a bit of a gap back to Nikolai Tsiabuk. See if he can hold on to it here to keep P8 for this race.
I'm gonna go take a look. I want to see what this looks like for Kornikov, because that is it's a really good finish for him. Kornikov.
Yeah, good finish for Kornikov today.
And he might actually pull up into a fight with Burkhoff and Kezar.
Paul Morris holds on to P8. Nikolai Tsiabuk P9. And Ridley and Lloyd Davis coming across the line to hold on to the top 10 as Comiskey, Kezar, Jake Wells, Adam Willey, Mike Burkhoff in the pits. That will end the Indianapolis Motor Speedway race today. Wow.
What a banger. What a banger of a race.
And just leading us right into a fantastic finale coming up very soon.
It is going to be wild.
Yeah,
it
really is.
Wild show. Real quick, I'm going to try and see if I can get if you would do me a favor.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can turn off Pit Link real quick. Just shut it off.
Yeah.
Because what it'll do is it'll save the data for the race. There's actually a little checkbox in Pit Link. You'll see it underneath. I think the credentials.
Oh, disconnect after the race. Yeah.
Yeah. If you check that box, what happens is now, because you guys run 2 races in a row, you have to remember when you go into the next race, turn it back on.
Yeah.
But it'll save the data. So if people go to the Box3 server throughout the entire week, as long as you haven't run a race, they can go back and read through the data.
Kidding. Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to make sure I check that box then. But yeah, it's shut down now. You should be good too.
Man, I'm just looking right now, and just want to jump over into the stint timers. Take a look, because man, yeah, Booth 35.576, 35.446. So he was managing a little bit of pace. That was just straight up, like managing some pace, kind of deal. Oh, people want to see the cat while he's in the tree right now. So
there he is. Yep, he's back.
You want to look at the massive. Ferguson is an actual monster. 35.4 though for Anderson. We're talking about a 3/10 delta between Anderson first, second stint. I really am kind of curious what happened. What was in the first stint that caused
somebody say he found his pace, that's for sure, but Anderson holding on to it. I mean,
here's the thing though. He found his pace in the second stint, shaved off 3/10, right?
Mm-hmm.
He left 4 seconds on
the pits.
In the pits, 3 relative to Booth, 4 relative to Foose. You can't be doing that if you want to take a swing for the title. So,
do you think Anderson's going to practice pit stop? You know what? He'll probably be on recovery drive. We can ask if he's going to practice pit stops for Bathurst.
I mean, yeah,
that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Say, you want to stop in front of the sign that says stop.
Don't drive through the guy that's trying to tell you to stop. Well, sir, I want to thank you for joining me this week. Of course, you're basically just the co-host. I don't know why I thank you for joining me. You are the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Millwee. Can bring us all the data and the cat tree in the background for these races, and it makes it fun. Thank you everyone here for joining us today. Don't forget, we're back next week at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the final race of Season 5. We are going to Bathurst. 1-hour race for AM and Pro-Am, 90 minutes for your Pro and Silver class drivers. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Recovery Drive. Please join us for that. So Phil, anything to send off to the people today?
Man, you guys are in for a treat.
Get ready for a banger
that
next
finale
week.
is going to be, it's going to be wild.
It is.
It's going to be wild.
Crazy.
So be sure and tune in. It's been great. It's been a good cast. It's been good to be back. So
awesome. Great. Always great to have you, man. For myself, for Phil Milley, for all of Box 3, and for all the drivers, thank you everyone for joining us this week. And again, we will see you next Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. Be sure to be here for it because it is going to get spicy real quick. Thank you, folks. Have yourselves a great week.